welcome. It is another week, and we are back to the Shadowverse Open. It feels like a long time.
It has been a little while, yeah. We had DreamHack last week, and now we're getting into the last Open qualifier of this season.
Yeah. So it's been some amount of time, but we're back into rotation. I'm Brady. That's Exodium. And we're here to bring you the top of Pan America.
That's right. This is the week, guys, that we're going to find out who our top 8 points earners for the season are, as well as the MVP. We're going to be handing out some cool stuff today, like that MVP flare, along with the Open qualifier prizing and things like that.
That's right. Let's take a look at the story up until now for how these players are managing their way through the tournament. And like you mentioned, Exo, it's the last week of qualifiers.
That's it. We have
week
5
5.
weeks. Yeah, we had 5 weeks. This is the last week. We're back to rotation. Already finished with Take 2. Already finished with Unlimited. And then, of course, we'll be back in just a few short weeks for weeks 6 and 7 for the regional finals. Again, where we're going to find out those top 8 players today.
Yeah, so we're quickly transitioning into the final few weeks of the tournament where we decide who the first place finisher is. So let's take a look at what they have to earn. The Open qualifiers largely, I think, are kind of done and set. We've had already 2 weeks of rotation. We've had Take 2. We've had Unlimited. So now we're back to rotation, and you got a little taste of that, I think, at DreamHack. But
absolutely,
we're going to continue kind of looking at how these players perform under that format. So here's what they have to win. Vials, as we've mentioned, and of course this is kind of the last round, right? So if you haven't been participating up until now, sorry.
Yep.
But those points are done and done.
Not just the points, this is the last week you had to earn that PAM emblem, that sweet Shadowverse Open emblem. This is it. And of course, Europeans tomorrow. But for Pan America, today is it.
Yeah, today is done. And quickly, we will be heading into the cash money, the dollar bills.
That's right. Again, another flare for the grand champion of the entire season. That once-in-a-lifetime type flare, just like the MVP flare. And, of course, $6,500 for first, all the way down to $250 for 7th and 8th. So if you make it, you make some cash, and you probably have a good time.
You have a great time.
Great time.
Because, even if I win $250, I could buy a lot of hamburgers with that.
Hamburgers are one thing, more Shadowverse related though. You can probably buy yourself right into the next expansion, so it's definitely worth it.
That's true. Yeah, the next expansion is coming up. There were a few people kind of on the Reddit just like speculating about that. It's that time of the year.
That's right. That's right.
Season. As
the season closes and as Shadowverse progresses, of course, there's going to be new sets. Rotations are going to be changing, and you need to keep up to date if you want to be on top of rotation, right? So that $250 is probably plenty enough to get you 4 of everything from a new set.
Yeah, very important, because as the new expansion is announced, that means this season is coming to a close and the books are shut, right? So who is going to be the champion of Dawnbreak Nightedge? Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? It is one of the most, I think, revolutionary sets. Chronogenesis was a big change because things were rotating out. And Dawnbreak Nightedge just introduced so many new things.
Closed a lot of doors, opened a lot of new doors. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who's the genius behind it all? We'll see.
That's right.
And so these players have been competing for a while now. Let's take a look at their standings, their points, and see who is the tippity top of the top. We've got Disastrous Crumsion leading, and we just saw, I think, what was it, the last Open qualifier that he just earned that spot, I believe. But Sky-sama, very interestingly, did very well in the Chronogenesis season, but so far has been kind of either busy or not really that present. But he had such a strong performance that he's still number 2 on the total leaderboard.
But the important points to look out for this day specifically are the top 8 on the right-hand side of the screen. The Dawnbreak Nightedge season, these top 8 players right now are the ones that are qualified for the regional finals, but of course today could change everything depending on who qualified and who didn't.
Highlighted in blue. So, big things to note. Crumsion, top of 2018, not there for the Dawnbreak Nightedge season.
Almost there. So he has to do well today. And a lot of these points are going to fluctuate today. If you notice the breakdown, everyone from Lodge down, 30 points to 27 points. That is fractional in comparison to, like, there could be a brand new top 8 today with the with the 9th through 16th players just getting a few points today and could knock the entire top 8 down. So it's completely volatile for the Pan America side of things, and I think today is going to be a super exciting day to see what happens.
Yeah. 2 very big names to watch out for. You see them on the bracket now, CPV Gengar and Fantasy. Now, they were kind of right next to each other on the leaderboard, and the fact that they are here, my napkin math, which is not very good, but I have a strong suspicion that they are set.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make it this far and be that high on the leaderboard in the last Open qualifier probably means that Fantasy and Gengar are securing their spot. So it's just a question of how high up can they get themselves.
Absolutely, and the last week does not present itself with anything less than top competitors, right? We've got everyone from Trickster to Sprayquaza to the two you mentioned in Gengar and Fantasy. All names we've seen before. I can't imagine that Sprayquaza and Trickster are too far behind on the points, so if they do exceptionally well today, they could earn themselves a spot in the regional finals.
Absolutely. Sprayquaza and Trickster, kind of, we were talking about it a little bit before, but both of these players more prominent in previous seasons, even in just Chronogenesis. Right?
That's right. I mean, Gengar has been making a tiny splash this season. Of course, I don't know if you guys saw it a few broadcasts ago, but he was about to go to prom. Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
He was there on camera, so that was super fun. Yeah, that was that was great. Hopefully he got there on time. I think he did. But it's all good. But yeah, today is going to be an exceptionally good day of Shadowverse. The meta got shifted last week from DreamHack. A lot of top competitors. I mean, the competition out in DreamHack was incredible, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the world's top players. New introduction into the meta with all the French players and what they played. A lot of the American players, European players, and the Japanese players were all surprised, like, oh my god, this is a completely different meta. How do we play with this? Their ideals were shattered, and new things were learned. And we're going to see some of that carry over today, especially with things like support cannon in Swordcraft these days. If you guys thought that mid-range Swordcraft was figured out, and we talk about this a lot, right? A lot of times things don't come to the forefront until the end of the season, right? But now, support cannon, not really ever a top pick, okay? But now it's in almost every single Swordcraft deck. It is now the name of the deck.
You know, it's like that experience where you're trying new food, and you only you 1 week you visit just like a small morsel.
Yeah.
You just eat a little bit.
Tastes
and then
pretty good. I like it this way.
Yeah, next time you come back, you maybe have 2 pieces of it. And then one day you're just sitting in bed in the middle of the night, and you just sit up straight, and you're just like, I like it.
Yeah, it's great, and I want to try everything about it. I want to add on this topping, and this topping. Wait, this tastes way better. Support cannon was all of those missing pieces. We started, some players last week had 1 in their deck, some players had 2, but I think, and some had 3, but I think it's kind of merged down to 2 now as just a nice option to add
like
to the deck.
Seems like a good middle ground.
That's right. So let's talk about our matchup right now. Fantasy versus Sprayquaza. We see the bans here. Interesting ban on Fantasy's side. His Temple Haven has been banned out, not his Ginger Runecraft. And Swordcraft never gets banned. Everybody says it's the best deck, but nobody ever bans it.
Yeah, very
interesting.
Yeah. And we talk about that a lot because we typically just really dislike mirror matches. And the sword mirror match is definitely one of those that just feels real bad.
Absolutely.
And so I almost would think that you want to avoid that. And even more interesting to me, Artifact Portal, now there might be for some other matchups, like maybe Sword into Portal or something like that. Fantasy just doesn't feel good about. But I would feel pretty good about Ginger Rune into Artifact Portal.
I think not banning Ginger Runecraft, and we talked about this weeks ago, the deck hasn't changed, right?
Yeah,
the deck's still a monster. It's still good. It's why a lot of top competitors bring it, things like that. Artifact Portal, easy ban. It's I still think it's the best deck in the format, but I'm crazy, right? I just love playing Portalcraft. The other interesting thing about this, talking about mirror matches like you were speaking of, is the fact that Fantasy decided to not do the normal thing.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not bringing support cannon. As a matter of fact,
what's he got instead?
He's got Axe Destroyer. So he's planning to beat the mirror as opposed to being the mirror, right? It's one of those beat the meta, not be the meta type strategies, which I love. The other cool thing is in his Ginger Runecraft list, he did a change that I harked at DreamHack last week. I'm like, okay, any deck that can play up the curve, maybe even that needs neutral cards, and there's one deck that comes to mind, right? Ginger Runecraft. Might start adding cards like Satunga.
Satunga what?
Say that like 15 times fast, right?
Satunga.
Anyway, neutral card that gets rid of amulets, right? Enemy amulets. You need that now if everybody's bringing support cannon sword. And everybody except for Fantasy today is bringing support cannon. So it's a very good choice. He's like, you know what? Everybody's bringing this. I'm going to beat it.
Yeah. Trying to beat the meta. What's doubly interesting is Sprayquaza. One of the only players to bring back Earthright Rune, which is crazy.
Yes, absolutely crazy.
I mean, these are some of the most off-the-wall players that we have in Pan America, right? Fantasy is very steadfast and very stubborn in his playstyle, and he does make adjustments, but tries to always hold true to kind of his philosophy of how he approaches the game. And I think it's very strange. We see a lot of Fantasy, and we see a lot of loss, right? We see him make it very far into the tournament because he makes it to the broadcast stages, but he always ends up getting beat up at one point.
It's true.
But he's such a consistent performing player, you know, and he does it with such unique kind of, if we were to contrast him with somebody like Sheepy, right?
Oh,
Sheepy
yeah.
is consistent.
Yeah.
But Sheepy plays stuff he knows is going to work.
He plays the meta to a T.
Fantasy is consistent, but he just does stuff.
He just does stuff. He does whatever. Like, I mean, and similarly to Sprayquaza, like you said, Earthright Runecraft, who plays that anymore, right? It's the Runecraft that's probably at the bottom of the barrel right now. Ginger Rune on top. Spell Boost Runecraft, a lot of people think is better, but it's harder to play. Maybe harder to know your matchups with it, that kind of thing. And then Earthright Rune has just been literally gone for a while.
Yeah, with the loss of a lot of the core cheap elements of burn in the deck, I think people just felt like there was not enough stretch to make that, because before the problem was there was a lot of healing and you kind of needed to race against the healing, right?
Yes.
Your burn was resources. Now you lost more of those resources, it becomes much harder to justify.
It's true. I do think that one reason why we might see it here today is also because it's just good. It's a very anti-board centric type deck. And a lot of people, what they're playing these days, Wisecraft, Swordcraft, Portalcraft, all board centric.
I can't believe he actually made that play. We always talk about turn 4.
And passing.
And you'd want to save your cards as resources, because that's a big thing for Swordcraft. And Sprayquaza, I feel like, just gave his Answer the Tempest away, which is a key resource, I think, in the matchup.
It's true. Now, I guess one decision for it is Sprayquaza's thinking ahead. On turn 5, my best evolved target's going to be a 4/5. If my opponent plays and evolves, you need to reduce the stats on board just so you can combat the board. For instance, if Fantasy made that same play, there'd be no removal for that unless he wanted to play now the Lancer of the Tempest plus an evolution, which feels horrible.
So maybe in retrospect, it is kind of a necessary evil on the side of Sprayquaza's part.
Unfortunately, when you don't have Vulse, very specifically on turn 4, your plays never feel that good. I mean, technically, Chromatic Duel plus Queen Hemera the White is another good option as well, but did not have that option.
Okay, does not go for the second kind of trade for the Knight up to the Luminous, and chooses to reduce the defense on his own Vulse for a bit.
I like this. And Sprayquaza's hand, okay. Thank goodness. He did not have a very good hand to combat this. This makes up for a little bit of it, but again, there's still 2 followers in play. Fantasy is firmly ahead in this matchup.
What I think is really great is that there's 2 Arthurs on the way, which are both going to filter his deck quite well and bring out a lot of the options and kind of momentum that he's lost early on. But for Fantasy, I think setting up both the Holy Spell Bombs is just crazy.
Absolutely. And if you notice, Fantasy with his first Vulse actually got the higher cost Spell Bomb in anticipation of things like Support Cannon. So Fantasy definitely very well versed in this new form of Swordcraft. Wants to make sure that his options are open to be able to take out that Support Cannon when he needs to.
I love it. He's always been making decisions to try to maximize the amount of ability he has to go face, and that's earned him 5 damage thus far. But we'll see if he can continue to play against this double Arthur turn. He has one of his own.
Yes, that's
and
true.
A Chromatic Duel.
Yeah, but Sky Fortress from Sprayquaza, I mean, the first Arthur into Fortress is usually a back-breaking play. We'll see if Fantasy can recover.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Fantasy, and we'll see how much he can gain traction off of the early face damage, because it's really a race at that point, right? And he needs to spell bomb this Hedgehog, because that is just insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane. So
Skyforce just might actually shut the door on that one.
It might. One thing too that Fantasy I think might have misstepped a little bit is he could have evolved his Arthur to keep another follower in play with that evolution there before even trading into the Hedgehog. But it looks like he just wanted to keep the stats on it to ensure that he would have Sky Fortress turn himself. So probably a good decision as well.
On Sprayquaza's side, you have quite a few good options. You have the Vulse, another Arthur, the Sky Fortress, the Lancer of the Tempest. What do you think in your mind is the appropriate way to play out these resources?
In the words of Onion Sheep himself, if you can play Sky Fortress, you play it. The end.
There it is.
The end.
Sky Fortress, all set up and ready to go. And what's tough about this is Hedgehog behind ward oftentimes means that you take slightly less favorable trades.
It's true.
But I think there's enough stats on the board that Sprayquaza is just going to be happy about it.
That's right, and as we see both players employing that same strategy, if you can play Sky Fortress, then you play it. The second one feels okay, though.
Oh, man.
But Fantasy's in the damage lead.
Yeah. And this is off of the consistent strategy and game plan, right? Fantasy said, hey, in this game, my strategy is to continue going face, and that's paying off for him now.
But he is getting far behind in the card advantage now that Sprayquaza has gotten a few draws off of that Sky Fortress into Arthur play. So Fantasy's going to have to kind of reel on this one, and he doesn't really have good ways to come back. He doesn't have another Arthur here. He doesn't have a Lancer of the Tempest to have a free clear. It's going to be very hard from this point to keep pace with Sprayquaza.
Currently, he holds options that will tide him over, but he has no future in his hand, right?
Right, absolutely. And real quick, I would like to point out for everybody, we like to point it out every week as you see Sprayquaza and Fantasy both on camera today.
Collecting them vials.
That's right, collecting those 1,000 vials apiece for getting themselves on camera. So just give us your Skype information at the beginning of the tournament or when you know you're going to get to the top cut, and then we'll put you on there, give you 1,000 vials for your trouble.
Yeah, yeah. You know what we should also do? We should count the amount of animated cards that pop up on broadcast and see who has the most animated cards out of any player. I think that's something we should start tallying.
Yeah, we'll see who the biggest whale is. Sure,
who
ISM,
the most
I would like
fashionable
that.
is.
Yeah.
The highest fashion.
That's right. All right, so Sprayquaza is still playing the same game. He's basically saying, I'm just going to run Fantasy out of cards. I've got card advantage. I'm not going to relinquish that.
I like it.
And Fantasy, I don't know if he can play back into that strategy very much. I mean, he went for the aggressive line. I mean, he's going second also, so he had to deal with Arthur first against him.
It was a curve, and the lack of Gawain to kind of cheat that curve a little bit was not an option for Fantasy. Though I think it probably would have been the biggest thing, especially with the advantage that Fantasy had going into those turns.
Absolutely.
Kind of lost it all just based on the turn order.
But we're basically just going to see a whole bunch of trades here, turn after turn after turn, and Fantasy's going to need to draw into something like another Arthur so he can come back.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, he's just going to keep steadily falling behind here.
The huge thing for Sprayquaza was off of his Sky Fortress. He started getting card draw.
Yep.
And he's got multiple Arthurs to kind of filter his deck, so he's just getting higher quality turns. Turn after turn. Okay.
All right. Well, can't do anything with that just yet. Removing the biggest threat here, followed by Luna's
Mage.
Yep.
And the question to me is, do you remove the Mars? It looks like Fantasy agrees.
Yeah, especially now, later in the game when you can play multiple threats. Yeah, it gets pretty scary.
And he got the Mage off of the sword. Thank goodness, you know?
That's right. Also, better options in Sprayquaza's hand as well. He's got a Celia to help push for lethal damage in a turn here. He's got a ward to protect board if he needs to later on. He's got another Arthur in his hand, which can pull out more cards of the board.
Yeah, Sprayquaza gave him the 1-2 punch, and Fantasy says enough. I get it.
Yep. I'm behind. I'm not coming back. And that's kind of how this matchup feels, right? So like in the early games, and that's kind of why a lot of people went to the support cannon route, is so that these end games can boil down to something different.
Yeah.
So if you have support cannon, it doesn't really matter what followers you're playing as long as they're commanders. You can fight back against any board. Without support cannons, and Fantasy is choosing not to employ that strategy, he doesn't really have an out. If he gets to a point where he is behind, Swordcraft doesn't really play well trying to catch up and then get ahead again, especially in the mirror match.
Yeah. When each of your cards becomes removal on its own, and it makes their stats persist, that gets to be very ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Because there are some cards in Swordcraft that have a lot of stats.
Yeah, a lot of stats, especially after Sky Fortress. All right, so game 2, getting into this. So Dirtrune versus Midsword. I have no idea how this matchup actually plays out anymore. I feel like if you can get good levy turns, obviously that's always going to be good for you. If you can tempo into early burns, Swordcraft doesn't have any heal, so a very well-timed, curve or, burn into burn into burn could just end the game before Swordcraft can really get to those end game turns.
Yeah, kind of thinking about the bigger options here. Against Arthur, you probably will wipe out all the chumpy minions, but the Arthur itself won't get removed by anything that you do, at least without spending additional resources. And also thinking about the Sky Fortress, right? What are the options to really deal with something that is definitely above 3 defense?
Right.
And makes something else definitely above 3 defense? Is your only answer something like Mutagenic Bolt, which doesn't feel fantastic?
I think so. But yeah, this is a tough matchup. I feel like if you're going second, which Sprayquaza isn't, if you ever get behind, we've already talked about Mutagenic Bolt at length in previous seasons and previous weeks, is if you get behind, it gets really hard to play that card.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that is really the only big answer to those. The other is just protecting yourself with something like Grand Summoning, like doing your own mini Arthur for your side of the board with some wards. But we'll see here. If Sprayquaza can keep the tempo and keep the damage rolling here, I think he'll be in good shape.
Yeah. Okay, this is probably the last turn that Sprayquaza has to get the early kind of face damage from his going first, because Fantasy is going to have a great swing turn next.
Ooh, Interesting. Okay, Paradise Vanguard is another option in Sprayquaza's deck. I think that has been a staple in Burn Rune, Craft Rune for a little bit, either Lyrial or Paradise Vanguard now.
Yep.
So
doing the 1 damage interactions.
Yep.
And this is rough. I don't feel a world where it's comfortable for Sprayquaza to just use the Halo Golem on curve, which is very strange, I think, for Burn Rune.
Go wide, use your burn later. I think he can squeeze one more turn here out of just early aggressive damage, which is really nice. But Sprayquaza is definitely going to need to draw into something, because what he has left over is not enough to finish the game.
Yeah. Fatal Spell Bomb, of course.
Oh, as a matter of fact, that's right. With the Spell Bomb, the entire board's going to get wiped out here, except for
the Illusionist is going to stay. And it's also going to draw Sprayquaza once, since he did play the Cauldron first.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Okay, he says you make the decision.
I actually really like that. That denies a card draw.
Yeah.
Excellent decision here.
And here he's going to have to draw by paying the cost. Ooh.
Okay. Never mind. Maybe some card draw in the future inevitably here.
Yeah. And I really like it because it refunds its cost. You save it for the moment that you need it.
Yep. Right. Absolutely.
Okay. I like this decision from Sprayquaza just because I feel like over the course of X amount of time, you're not going to have the option to play out a long game against Sword as it stands.
That's true. All right, so let's see what Fantasy's going to do here. Is he going to try to out-tempo? It looks like it. He's not playing defense.
Oh, boy. Oh my
wow.
goodness. Okay, he's going to need to use an Evolve to be able to take down 2.
But I think that was a great draw.
Yeah,
I mean, that still cements
more
face.
Damage. Yeah. Oh my gosh, and that's going to leave Fantasy at 2, which means it opens up the option for Sprayquaza to close it out with a Mutagenical if Fantasy's not careful.
Not only that, but now Fantasy, taking that tempo line, has to play defensively, and there's a ward, or not a ward, but an amulet still in play, a sigil still in play for that illusionist to come back.
He has to play knowing that he could just get burned out. So any moment he has the opportunity to play healing, he must take that route.
Yeah, has to use every single resource this turn on defense. It will clear Sprayquaza's side of the board out. Sprayquaza needs one more top deck to finish this thing off.
Nice. It's a good turn, protecting his Hedgehog as well. And it comes down to, can Sprayquaza draw the option he needs? This is the classic
He needs it right now. He needs it right now. Does this get staff? Oh,
no! No!
So close. But Fantasy has lethal sitting in his hand with a Celia and 7 damage in play. So Sprayquaza, 1 draw away.
Oh my god!
From hammering this down.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if there's no world, right?
There's no world.
Oh, that feels bad.
So close.
Oh, wow. I think Sprayquaza played that well.
I mean, that's exactly what you have to do. You play the aggressive line, and you get there. That's what aggro decks have to do. Over time, is just play to the top of the deck. Aggro out, try to top.
Yeah. The interesting thing, too, is thinking about this list, I don't know if there was really a turn where Oz even felt that great. You know, because maybe we think about, hey, in these final turns, you really like Oz to shuffle your hand and find those spells to close the game out. I don't think that would have been super relevant, right? Because taking a gap turn to not push face damage still doesn't feel great.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And maybe that very final turn, you know, top decking something like a Wizardess of Oz would have been great. But yeah, I mean, you played that to a T. You played it as aggressively as you could. You didn't make any mistakes in Sprayquaza's case, and you know, sometimes your deck just leaves you hanging there.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what it had. It didn't have the. Would you assume that felt like a pretty average Earthright curve to me?
I think it was actually pretty good. He had the turn 1 Cauldron into the turn 2, and then into double 2s on 4, which is really good against Swordcraft specifically if they don't have the Vaults to answer back.
Halo Golem and the Levi, so that is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I suppose maybe, I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? Is the difference maker just trying to get that Mage of Nightfall on curve?
Mage of Nightfall is a really good option as well, but just drawing any burn spell for your deck. You just need one more. Even another Halo Golem would have done it, so yeah, he's right there. He's right there. But I feel like this matchup is actually clearly in favor of Dirt Rune.
Yeah.
It can definitely win before turn 9.
Yeah. And even if it does get to turn 9, it can turn you on its head, right?
Yeah, mutagenic bolt you. That's right, absolutely. I think this might actually be one of the best decks, if not the best decks, or best deck against Ginger Runecraft just because of its options.
Yeah, we'll see if it plays out. Anything can happen in Shadowverse.
Yeah, anything can happen. That's absolutely correct.
Oinky oinky. Oh, how I have missed you.
Card's good.
Got Chain Lightning now, and the Levi, and the Mage of Nightfall.
Very good tempo here. I like it. Next turn,
scary.
He can even take off and install another one. Yeah, this is a pretty insane card.
How do you try to think about possibly saving the ambush to do one big push?
Well, I think against Neutral Rune, you don't really need to worry about that. It's all, I mean, they have to play their one big follower turn anyway.
Yeah.
I think you just get in there.
So the thing is, if you play the Mage of Nightfall, I guess you can put the Silent Laboratory alongside that, so I would definitely be down because then you can play the Levi on curve.
Right.
And I think that really changes the decision-making here.
Plus, yeah, get Evo turn after turn. I mean, we're going down to 12 here. Next turn, we're dealing another 6. That's down to 6. You play the Levi, that's 3. 2 Chain Lightnings. I mean, this is all over already, it feels like.
The victory is written here. The question is, can Fantasy get any kind of mitigation or healing?
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a big thing, right? When you get a lot of face damage from followers on Earth Rune or Dirt Rune, that gets very scary because you know there's still a lot of burn option available.
Absolutely, and it looks like Fantasy's really trying to hold on to that Happy Pig for an Evo target.
Oh my god.
But it's not going to matter here.
Yeah, and the Mutagenic Bolt. So what is actually the highest damage? It's still Levi, right, this turn?
Oh yeah, 100% Levi, evolve face. Yep, and then you just burn, burn, burn.
Yep.
And there's nothing neutral, neutral Runecraft
Too
can
much
do about
damage sourcing from the actual followers in Earth, right, is deadly.
2 Mage of Nightfalls against a deck that has no way to clear an ambush follower. I mean, come on. That's 12 unmitigated damage.
There's actually less options, I feel like, now than there ever was before to handle it. Ambush followers just in general, and also ambush followers that come out in turn 3.
That's true. That's why they're making the ambush followers cost a little bit more these days.
Yeah.
This is still a carryover from the old days.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's still very effective on the right curve here.
Spray Quaza. Wow. Bye-bye.
Showing up with some dirt Runecraft.
2 games, 2 very good opportunities to win.
Absolutely.
I feel like.
And Fantasy will move down to the loser's bracket. He's not out yet.
Yeah.
But Spray Quaza will advance to the winners finals. And honestly, you know what? If you read the metagame and you're like, you know what? Everybody's playing Ginger. Everybody's playing this slow deck. You know, everybody's playing
Let's
Swordcraft.
put a little gasoline and start burning some things.
That's right. Pour it on the fire and light the match. Absolutely. But yeah, very well done.
Yeah, I like it. Is that the Mana Surge think tank? We haven't seen Mana Surge in a while, I feel like.
That's true. We're actually going to talk to Mana Surge today and see maybe they have their own little like anti-meta strategy sessions that they go through. I mean, we know Disaster
world has been controlled by Disaster for so long.
No Disastra in the top 4 at least.
Yeah.
We're going to see if they made it down to the losers bracket. Yeah, they're just like, whatever.
Yeah, you know, the time difference and all.
Oh my God. I don't want to get into the time difference. It's pretty large. I've been a sleepy man for the last week or so ever since being back.
Yeah. Well, now you know how I feel every day of my life.
Just a big sleepy teddy bear. Fair enough. But yeah, that basically sums up this format right now. People think it's solved. It's not so solved. I feel like
are powerful.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. Even the least strong deck is still very effective in its particular cases, and there's enough necessity, I think, to play multiple different decks that there is a world where you can bring something like Earthright and say, like, hey, this is very dangerous with the lineup that you have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pick something out and beat it. So Bottles actually last week at DreamHack was like, I just want to beat the meta. I want to play my decks. I think they're really good. He brought Giant Chimera, Lindworm Dragon, and Vengeance Blood. 3 off-the-wall decks that people don't really play. Well, I guess Spell Boost Runecraft people do play, but Lindworm Dragon's not really played. Vengeance Blood's definitely not played. And he's just like, I want to beat the meta. He actually beat Akamara Red in the first round of 16 by beating his Swordcraft deck 3 times after Akamara Red beat him 2-0 to start the match. Just like, I want to beat Swordcraft. This is my metagame. And, I mean, that's what every single person is bringing. Everybody's bringing Swordcraft. That's a great strategy.
Yeah. It's interesting playing to the format. I think, you know, Bottles definitely did very well at DreamHack. And my curiosity is if enough people play that way, does that mean that they start getting into the finals? Do we start seeing that? I mean, in terms of Bottles having a run, how did you feel about kind of his chances to actually make it through and take a tournament win?
I think, okay, so it's funny, when you're on this side of things versus that side of things, it's funny what you talk about with, like, you know, production or anybody else, right? We're like, okay, so Bottles is on one side of the bracket, and Sky Sama's on the other. We're in France for the European, you know, chance for the Contenders Cup.
Yeah.
There was a chance that they both could have gotten to the finals. Sky Sama was on fire. Bottles was on fire the entire weekend, and then they both dropped in top 8. And I was just like, oh, man, how insane would it have been, right, for two American players to get to the finals, right? And then we'd have to do, like, a subsequent playoff to see who the actual European winner was because they didn't make it to the finals. But that, of course, did not happen.
Yeah, dang it. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. If you want that day to come, then make sure you stay tuned for all Shadowverse Open things. And you can do that and get information on when those things are happening by going to shadowverseopen.com.
Shadowverseopen.com.
Yeah, shadowverseopen.com. If you haven't heard it enough, it's Shadowverse, and then you take the word open, shadowverseopen.com.
Perfect. But yeah, articles up there, great stuff. You guys, the most important part of that is not only being able to sign up, and if you ever have a new player like, how do I get into the competitive Shadowverse scene, shadowverseopen.com. Also, it's where you can look at the league points. The important thing for the entire year of, you know, who's amassed the most over the year. If you want to stay up to date with who's amassed the most during every individual season, it's up there. And, of course, at the end of the year, the top 4 points earners will qualify for the Contenders Cup, so it's super important.
Yeah. So let's move on to shadowverseopen.com. Just kidding. Just kidding. Shadowverseopen.com. We have more matches to watch, of course.
Yes, we do.
We saw on the winner's side, so that means Fantasy's not done, right? He's just dropped down.
Absolutely.
And Sprayquaza has moved himself forward. And so we'll see kind of, you know, figuring out how the bracket is going to move along in terms of Gengar, whether he's going to make it through. Is it going to be CPV versus Mana Surge at the end, or is CPV going to have to kind of eliminate themselves as we get to that point?
That's right. That's right. I honestly feel that Gengar, he's been one of the most solid players in my mind in the Pan America you know, side for a long time.
Gengar has had quite a journey, right? There are times where he's felt frustrated. There are times where he's kind of had trouble, but he's this season he's kind of brought it back really. And I think despite a lot of his difficulties with managing the competitive meta of the game, he's found very good footing.
I think he found a home a couple weeks ago, and I think he's been super comfortable with it. I mean, when we see him on camera, he's always got a smile on his face.
That's
like,
right,
you know what I mean? He's in a very positive mind and attitude about the whole thing. And honestly speaking, he's one player that I still want to see. Him and Onion Sheep are the two people I kind of just want to see get to the pinnacle, you know what I mean? That haven't quite made it yet, you know what I mean? Like, they're consistent players. They always do well. They're always, like, around here and there, but they haven't just gotten all the way and won something.
Just take some tournament wins so we can rightfully say that they're the best.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, guys. We want to support you. Everybody out there wants to support you. We just need to see you get there.
Yeah. Need to be the best.
Absolutely.
Best. Very fun stuff. Of course, if you guys have been following on things like social media, not just shadowverseopen.com, but on social media like @SciGames Esports, then you could see kind of the journey of some of these players. And then, for example, she'd be going to DreamHack, and soon to come, the DreamHack Montreal, where the Pan American players will have their own live event. I'm sure we'll see quite a lot of people out there too.
It's great, and we'll talk a little bit more about DreamHack later in the show, but like very briefly, it was awesome seeing all of the players out there. I finally got to meet most of the European, you know, squad essentially. Disaster
Did you get
was
them
out
meals?
there.
Did you take them out and buy them?
Did I buy them meals?
Yeah.
First of all, I only had one chance to eat a meal with them, and it was the after party, so I didn't have to pay for anything. It was great.
I guess that's okay.
It's great.
You were supposed to carry on my will.
Oh, I see. I see. Is that what you would have done if you were out there? Taking them all out to lunches and dinners?
Well, I am committed to Himari, you know, like, so get headed back away from that. You'll have to save face somehow.
Himari was great. I actually got to cast with him a little bit too. He's a cool guy. Onion Sheep, all of them, like, we got pictures out there. We ate food. We drank. You know what I mean? It was a good time out there.
Maybe one day. One day I'll get to meet all of them.
Yeah.
But until that day, I'll just talk about them.
Yeah, it was interesting too. Like, some of the players were just like, you know, it's very different because they actually got to watch us cast live, essentially, right? So instead of us being in a studio far away from them, they could just like literally stand on the side rails and just watch us cast, and they're like, it's a different experience. Like, oh, we actually get to see what you guys do and everything.
And did you happen to wear pants that day?
I had to because I was standing all day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's right.
Because if they actually saw us cast like right now, cannot guarantee
they
the
can't know that.
existence of the bottom attire,
This is the what do you call this? The Hollywood wall?
Yeah.
You can't look behind it.
Yeah, what's on camera looks great.
Yeah.
Things that you get off camera, all
right.
you know,
Right. There's a
I'm
pile
not
of garbage
guarantee you
sitting over
anything.
there. There's a guy running around in his underwear right over there. Like it's a madhouse in here.
Yeah, but everybody respects the rule of the camera.
That's right.
This is absolute. The camera angle is absolute.
It's fun. So let's get back on topic to Shadowverse. I think a lot of things actually got shifted up in the metagame last week. So we talked about support cannon.
That's right, yeah.
A lot of people in the competitive scene actually think that Temple Haven is not really a tier 1 deck anymore.
Yeah, but there was a curveball.
It won. It won. So everybody in the room, and even some members on Disastra, people were joking about, were like, thank God that it won so that people will be playing it next week so that I can beat it.
So you can beat it, yeah.
Yeah, but the joke's on them. 2 Havencraft players made it to the top 4 anyway.
Yeah.
So
they had to knock each other, you know?
And I think it goes along with what you're saying. It might not be the best deck in the format anymore, but if you build it properly, if you have the right options, and you play it against the right decks at the right time, it's still a potent deck. It still does a lot of work, right? Heavenly Knight's still a super powerful card. Serene Hind's super powerful, you know, in conjunction with Summit Temple.
If we take the opportunity and take a step back, right, to see, because, I mean, we've been doing the Shadowverse Open for forever now, and kind of even before you were brought on to kind of sit alongside and commentate. The first time we did the Shadowverse Open, that was in the world of kind of initial Dragoncraft starting to become a menace, the ramp Dragoncraft, Shadow, you know, and that was when it was like the Reapers getting real buff, you know, Schwarzenegger style. And we look at the transformation of the meta up until now, and we really talk about balance, you know, and things have been doing this, but just in general, I feel like balance has just got to a point where it's actually crazy how many different options there are that are available, not just between different crafts, but within crafts as well, right? We see kind of a lot of options within a particular craft for how you can play it.
Well, look at Runecraft, right? So a couple of them are more polarized, like Havencraft, I would say is
like
kind of like
an option
right now. Swordcraft, realistically, you can go the aggressive route. It's not as potent as the mid-range option, but it does something different. It beats different decks. Like, you're playing against a Giant Chimera deck, you're playing against a Ginger Runecraft deck. You'd probably much rather have the aggro version of the Swordcraft deck than the mid-range version. But they just do different things. Forestcraft, you can do whatever you want with it.
Whatever you feel like. Runecraft probably is the most diverse out of any.
Most diverse while retaining a lot of its strength.
Yeah, certainly. So it's just interesting to make a note. I mean, I don't feel like there have been many times where we've been casting the Shadowverse Open where it's felt like, hey, there are a ton of options and these players choose particular options for their matchups, you know, and that seems effective.
Well, I mean, it's polarized, right? Like, so last week at the finals, Onion Sheep was running Ginger Runecraft, mid-range Swordcraft, and Portalcraft, probably the 3 top meta decks that everybody would expect. His opponent, Control Forestcraft, mid-range Swordcraft, and Temple Haven. So completely different lineup. Still very effective and counterintuitive to what people would have thought would have won the tournament, but still made it through.
Very interesting stuff.
Very interesting stuff. The metagame is wide open.
So, with that being said, let's jump into our next match here. And thank you for bearing with us as we kind of make sure the tournament pushes forward and all things are looking good. But here we have Gengar.
Here he is.
Back again.
Here he is.
Against Hallowed Sky. Not a lot of Pan-American representation, I think, from HSK, but fantastic to see a player making it all the way here. Dominus.
Dominus. What a name, too. Dominus. That's Latin for master, I believe.
Step back.
Yeah. Easy. Easy. And perfectly in time for Spartacus, one of the new cards that was released.
That's right, that boy.
That boy, absolutely. So let's talk about the matchups. So we've got a Haven deck, Artifacts. That's kind of what it is. Portal, Artifact, and Support Cannon. Support Cannon actually getting the ban.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Get out of here.
Okay.
No.
Get out of here versus Aggro Swordcraft. Aggro Forcecraft. I can't say crafts today. I'm messing up. And then Support Cannon and Spell Boost. And Spell Boost Runecraft getting the ban makes sense. It's just a really hard deck to play against.
It has some end point of like, okay, the game is not going any more past this.
It's kind of like Ginger Runecraft. The difference is that it doesn't have to wait until turn 9 to win. It can just win on turn 9, but it also has like those turn 6s, turn 7s where you're like Flame Destroyer, Chimera, Ward, you know, after a Magic Owl, and your opponent's just like, all right. So it kind of has 2 phases. It has an earlier Ginger board into a later just shotgun to the face. You're done.
Just bye-bye.
Yeah, goodbye.
See ya. And that's going to be what kind of Gengar is playing off of, right? He says, hey, here's one threat that you really want to ban out, and then you're going to let me play the other threat. What's interesting is Aggro Force within the context of this.
Yes, Aggro Force is very interesting. I feel like Aggro Force has very good game against Artifact Portal, just because any highly aggressive deck when you're playing against Portal. Portal is a grindy mid-range to late-game deck that kind of overpowers everything in the current state of things. But when you go under Portal, it has a really hard time catching up because its cards are a little bit more expensive. It needs to get the right pieces in place. Aggro's just like, I'm coming at you.
I think there's 2 points that make Aggro Force particularly good against Artifact, especially not the control version of Forest, right? The aggro version of Forest specifically is that one of the ways that Portalcraft, one of the few ways I think it plays around Forest, is kind of saving options, right? Is saying, hey, for every Brambles you play, I'm going to feel pain a little bit. I'm going to trade my health kind of as a few resources, right, to try to extend my resources in hand in the game. And we've seen that be kind of successful for some players.
It can be.
But the problem with doing that against aggro is you don't have the opportunity to do that.
You don't have time. The time is gone. Plus, they still have Wood of Brambles, which is the single best card against Portal in the entire game. And then as far as Temple Haven is concerned, similar against Aggro Force. Aggro Force just has really good draws against decks that go a little bit slower. So I think the Forest Craft deck is actually just kind of an auto win in this matchup. And then the Support Cannon Sword deck, I mean, it's considered to be the best deck in the format, right? So it definitely has a chance to win against everything. I feel like Gengar has a slight edge, but Portal is on the side of Dominus, so I'm rooting for him. I want to see Gengar win, but he's playing Portal, and I respect Portal more than anything or any player.
It's probably the hardest deck to manipulate, but the most effective if you find your way to do that.
It's super hard to play. It's super hard to play effectively. It's hard to know when to mulligan. It's hard to know what, or not when, but what to mulligan, and because it's so volatile, right? If you're going first or going second, your mulligans change. Depending on the class you're playing against, your mulligan changes. A lot of decks just play on curve. Portal doesn't necessarily need to play on curve. It just needs to play out its options appropriately over the course of time so that you can beat a specific class. And that's why I think it's so great, right? Plus, once you play that and you master it, you can actually beat everything. I'm not saying it's an auto loss to Aggro Forest, you know what I mean? But because it definitely has ways to win, it's just one of the harder ones.
Absolutely. So we'll see. Dominus, will he be able to triumph over Gengar? HSK, I think in Pan America, it's interesting to see how kind of underrepresented they are. So maybe putting them on the board here.
Well, I mean, think about the teams that they work with, though. I mean, you're working with people like Zero Fi and Akamara Red. I mean, like, it's not like
powerhouses, right?
You're not a slump on the metagame or asleep on what you need to be doing in your game. So I feel like he's got a really good chance here. But here we go. We're popping into things.
Wow, Gengar liked the high fashion and just stuck with it.
Dressing it up, man.
Look at him.
Not going to prom today, but he's still got that suit jacket on. All right, Gengar.
HMU.
That's right.
PLZ. RN.
I don't know what that means because I don't lead speak. I actually do know what that means, and that's a little creepy, but that's okay. We're gonna jump into this, and this is the matchup we've been talking about.
He's a little bit of a young boy, right? Oh God, I just had my birthday this week.
All right.
It's not good.
Easy.
I'm getting too old. It's not okay.
So I think Dominus does gain a couple percentage points back now that he's on the play. He doesn't have to be just completely overwhelmed by Gengar's aggressive side. But Gengar not having a 1-drop here, especially going second, is going to hurt him.
Uncomfortable. And the Starry Elf with the Brambles in hand. I mean, Brambles is always great, but it can get a little bit clunky, I feel like.
That's true. And talking about Dominus's hand real quick, this is not necessarily the hand you want to start with. He has no artifact generators. Hamlin didn't really get the best use. These Fervent Machine Soldiers aren't really going to be doing anything. Dominus has to top deck something like a Magisteel Line immediately. Oh, not another biofabrication.
Oh, boy.
The one downside of running multiple biofabrications.
That feels so horrible for Dominus.
Literally 3 dead cards in the hand right now. 4, really, if you consider Fervent Machine Soldiers.
Both their hands are quite terrible, to be completely honest.
But one of them has Wood of Brambles in multiples. So.
And multiple Imperias.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very slow start from Gengar, and Dominus with not great options.
Okay. I mean, Deus Ex is...
That can help.
Yeah. There were other things that you could, find. The most dangerous thing in my eyes is if Dominus does not present a dangerous enough board and lets the Imperias drop with little threat, that can very quickly get out of hand.
It's true. Honestly, Dominus has 2 plays here. He has Fervent Machine Soldier. He can set up a substitution or save that for next turn. I think using substitutions early is good, just because it forces your opponent to play the Wood of Brambles because they know you have the puppet in your hand. But also installing a 2-3 and clearing the board is a good option. Dominus really needs some help here.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, Beetle Warrior, too, to kind of make sure he has a little bit of extra oomph at the end.
That's right, amping things up.
Okay. 2 Brambles and an Airbound. I cannot see a world where there's not a Brambles on the board.
Yep.
Yes, bad people.
They are evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
I guess that is somewhat of a redundant statement.
No.
Bad people.
Well, it depends on how you use the word bad.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad boy. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't mean he's evil
necessarily.
It just means he's got a cool style.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he rides a motorcycle.
When you put it that way, it feels like the Water Fairy is a little bit, you know, gotta.
Definitely. She's evil, okay? She says she fights evil. Little fairies with red eyes. I don't know if she necessarily has red eyes, but I know her sisters do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
so maybe she's the good one in the family?
She spreads propaganda, probably.
Yeah.
She's like a propaganda, you know.
All right.
Bad people are evil, and I'm good. And I fight bad people.
Ridiculous. Okay. So Dominus did finally draw Magisteel Lion, but all of the options that worked with Magisteel Lion have already been employed.
Yeah.
So now it's really just he's got to play the Deus Ex Machina and hope that his draws are good coming into the future.
Okay. On Gengar's end, I mean, really, what are you leaning on for win conditions here, right? The Beetle Warriors, the Imperias. In what world do you set those up and feel comfortable?
Well, I find it interesting that he's not going with the Hyperia plan first here and then using backup like Fairy Beetle Warrior damage.
Yeah.
I feel like he can get a lot more work done. But I think Gengar's mindset is Dominus had a crap hand.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put some fairies in play. I'm going to keep my Wood of Brambles in play. I'm just going to play my normal fairy game. Maybe it didn't start until turn 5.
Yeah.
But my opponent didn't really do anything yet either. So, yeah, Dominus just wanting to get this down as soon as possible. Wants to shuffle this hand away immediately.
Yeah. Get it out of here. No more. I don't want to see more of this.
And honestly, he doesn't even have a play for next turn. Literally nothing to do. He can't play the meta production because that'll stop the shuffle. He has a puppet, but that's not going to do anything. Acceleradium is not going to do anything.
Yeah. Hey, remember me with a Brambles?
I'm here to stay.
I'm back.
But Gengar not utilizing the options to keep Wood of Brambles in play for too long, maybe feeling like he doesn't need to.
Yeah. That can be pretty dangerous.
This
Again, we talked about Portalcraft kind of dilly-dallying around the options that Forestcraft has, and sometimes you get to a point where Forestcraft all of a sudden finds out, oh, oops, I used everything.
Absolutely correct. Oh, my. Dominus. Well, I mean, at least he can get Acceleradium out there. He might play two.
Yeah, fill up that board space. It's okay.
It's interesting to me to play the second one just because he knows he doesn't really have artifacts in his deck, so filling up his board space with non-followers right now is kind of suspect to me.
Oh boy, and no evolution orbs too. It just feels like so long before artifacts really become a thing, and he just took a full swing.
And there's just nothing to do here. He's got a Saphira to contest board. Okay, that will help.
Hamlin can...
Oh.
So what has he installed in his deck already?
No, there's nothing to pull. He has
He
no
could
evolution
play
orbs.
Icarus and then Miriam.
Well, Miriam's not active.
Resonance.
No resonance. There's no way to pull. Saphira is the only anti-aggressive play here.
Whoops.
Wow.
Whoopsies.
Just everything turning out not so well
As
this
the
game.
cool kids like to say, yikes.
Did I jinx this by saying that I was in full support of Portal and nothing else? This is the worst draw I've ever seen a Portalcraft deck have.
I mean, how...
And he
how
had
did
a Deus Ex.
Yeah, he did. He did, but as we talked about, kind of mulligan options now in Portalcraft are wide open, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want that Deus Ex necessarily, right?
Sure.
It really depends. I think we'd have to go back and scrutinize the mulligan because that's probably the most impactful thing he could have done.
Well, if you're playing against aggressive decks, you definitely don't need to keep the Deus Ex Machina. You need the curve. It's the most important thing. But it's just the double draw into Biofabrication, Acceleradiums when you have no artifacts being generated. This game was written in the books with that first redraw from Deus Ex Machina.
Yuans across the world felt pain.
Yeah.
Okay. Show me the money.
Something.
Yeah. You can extend the effectiveness here if you throw in a card to build the space on the board. You can, I mean, that Magna Legacy doing 1 is still pretty good against Forest. You know?
Definitely needed to be dealing 4 here. Unfortunately, Gengar has 5 damage in play and beat a
He can
Warrior.
throw away at least 2 artifacts, right?
That's
at
true.
Least 2.
That's true.
So that's going to put Magna Legacy. Has he thrown away any artifacts?
The board space, though, if he had 1 more board space, he might be able to get there.
Yeah, the problem is throwing the 2/2 into the Starry Elf gets rid of the Starry Elf, and then there's no way to get rid of the Saphira.
0 ways, yeah. It's taking up board space yet again. And then you can run 1, yeah, because you can't play Hamlin. There's no Hamlin play this turn.
So you should probably Majesty Lion into the Starry Elf, I think. But there's no way to get it up to 4 because there's not even 4 fallers on the table.
Yeah, can't do it. Unfortunately.
So you need to find Ward?
But there's no Ward, and there's no way to tutor for Ward.
There's no mechanic?
There's no mechanic.
You can only naturally draw it by analyzing
Correct.
artifact, right? But if he has no mechanic, then you're done.
I think that's what he has to play for, though. Get another analyzing, draw, need to find a Ward. That's his only out at the moment.
Okay. See, what's interesting here is almost if there was Brambles on this board. Oh! You're not going to biofab?
Yeah, very interesting to attack first, not biofab. Is it big enough?
No way.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so. And yeah, now he's going to feel the sting. So Gengar, I mean, the matchup kind of played out like we talked about, but definitely not in the fashion we thought it would.
Yeah.
Gengar had a very slow start. Dominus had a non-existent hand. Didn't really do anything, unfortunately, for him. But this matchup is over, and now Dominus has to beat Swordcraft with 2 decks. Portalcraft is definitely a deck that can beat Swordcraft.
Yes. And that's the big thing, right? We've seen this format for so long, for a whole year plus of the Shadowverse Open, right? And we know how these Conquest format type games play, right? Sometimes you just lose a game, but that's okay because you just beat up on the last deck.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Havencraft definitely can beat Sword. I would say that's probably the most equitable matchup in the entire format right now. I think both players have a pretty clear 50-50. I think Support Cannon did up Swordcraft's game just a little bit, so it might edge out in a few points now, but it's not huge. It's not a huge disparity.
Yeah. Look at the flares, though. I'd like to point your attention to that. Oh!
Look at that.
Dawnbreak Unlimited Cup Champion.
Champion.
Pan America showing presence here. Dominus. You know, not from USA or Canada.
Yeah.
It's very good. Love to see more players from all over the world competing.
Absolutely. And, I mean, that's what last year tried to do, Bridge the Gap. This year is doing an amazing job at it with all these local events.
Just expanding.
More spots in the Contenders Cup, more countries in the Contenders Cup.
Yeah.
Rather in the World Grand Prix.
Yeah. More money.
More money. That's right. A lot more money.
Yeah.
A lot more money. All right. So, Mulligan's away here. Gengar has a pretty solid 2-3-4. Dominus does have his Majesty Lion and did top deck into the Deus Ex, so his draw is looking pretty good so far.
Yeah. And that's going to be... I feel like part of it is Swordcraft trying to put together dangerous options within a close time frame from each other, right? Because that's... If you kind of just draw into one strong option and have a few kind of turns that just peter out and then draw into another strong option, I feel like that's how Swordcraft loses in this scenario.
Absolutely. I feel like the way Swordcraft wins this matchup is, of course, Support Cannon can help. That's why. I don't know why people weren't playing it before, but that's like my answer for everything now with Swordcraft. How does it beat this harder matchup? With Support Cannon, and now it's in it. But outside of that, it's the same game plan as if he was playing against another Swordcraft deck. The difference is Portalcraft has a lot more comeback to it than an opposing Swordcraft deck. So you still want to play your Arthurs, you still want to play your Sky Fortresses and things like that. But Portalcraft can really just come back and wipe out your board every turn.
Lo and behold, the card has shown up. So Vials gets dropped and is going to install the Fatal Spellbomb. It's a lower cost one of the few.
That's right. An interesting approach this game from Dominus as well. Deciding to Hamlin on 2 instead of Magisteel so he can double up on those. Just wants to put more artifacts in the deck. There's no problem with that. And honestly turned out to be a good decision. He didn't draw anything that would have made that play bad, such as a Miriam or Fervent Machine Soldier.
Leaves it up to Gengar to clear the board, which is, again, a very nice decision to say, hey, I'm going to get free face damage.
That's right. Again, these are two mid-range decks that don't have any healing. So if you can get the early damage in, that's all important, because later in the game, honestly, Portalcraft doesn't even really have to deal damage, right?
Yeah.
They get you to a nice solid 14, 12, maybe 10 if they're really, you know, had a really good early game. And then they just play board control the entire game until they get up to Saphir, and then they just knock you out in one punch.
Yeah. Ooh, getting value. Value off of Gawain. Makes the Barbaros a real sheep.
Yes, and the Lancer, which is really good. Again, with support cannon, having cheaper commanders is really good. You can rally behind it pretty hard.
You do not want to let that Gawain get another swing in.
No. And yet again, Dominus kind of falling short of a great draw here. No artifact pullers this game, only generators, and only because he copied one.
Yeah.
And he has an Iron Staff mechanic.
He did have an Iron Staff, so that was an option for him last game. But you're right, there's not a lot of pullers. He still does have the Deus Ex, but again, it's just, it feels like too late, right? Residence is on, it's going to be off on the turn, and so you need to biofab or something.
This is a different matchup, though. I feel like Gengar is going to see, especially after the play Dominus has to make this turn. Dominus is going to have to play his Iron Staff mechanic and either choose to evolve Hamlin and deal no face damage to wipe out the Gawain, or evolve just the Iron Staff to clear the follower, and that does not feel good, and he's going to pass here. And Gengar could just be like, you know what? Perfect opening for support cannon.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to open the door on this matchup.
Let it happen. Drop it. Yeah. And Dominus just does not have an aggressive turn next, right? Like, if you're dropping Deus Ex, you're not getting that face damage. Your Resonance is still going to be off. Unless he draws a...
Yeah,
it can't be
awkward.
I guess... I mean, you throw away 2 Sephiras as well, right?
Well, maybe an option here for Dominus is if he can take a different approach. So he can play a Saphira and evolve it and go face this turn. The only reason I say that is because it puts 9 defense on the board.
Yeah.
And it will suck up either an entire turn from Gengar, or it will just survive, and then you can just deal 8 in total damage with it over the course of 2 turns, which could speed up his clock. But not employing that option. He can still do that next turn technically, but now it's going to be a little bit harder because his board's going to be clean.
Yeah, that was, oh my god.
Luminous Mage is really good, especially with support cannon.
Yeah. Okay. That's a problem.
Yeah. Now, this game's not over, guys. So Dominus is still playing a deck that can beat this draw, right? If he can keep filling the board up and destroying the board after he reshuffles this turn, he'll be in fine shape. The problem is where the Icarus is at. He's played 2 Majesty Lions, right? He doesn't have an Acceleratium yet, which means that he does have a decent chance to draw it with some Analyzing Artifacts coming up.
But it's going to be hard to draw without the rush on the Analyzing Artifacts.
That's right.
So the other problem is if you don't have strong presence on board, that support cannon is going to extend the reach of the Swordcraft deck by a lot.
Absolutely.
And you have Barbarossa 4 for 5. You know, that is very cheap damage that he can earn.
Oh, very interesting choice this turn. Okay. I like this. Installing just a follower that he doesn't have to use an Evolution Orb to actually kill the big one, and then he can clear off the entire board. Now, this board doesn't really stay super safe against turn 7 plays that Gengar can make, but the redraw is happening, and not a bad redraw. He's got a Magna Legacy now. He's got some ward action. He's got something going.
Having sources of damage soak as well for the support cannon like we were talking about is very important too. Oh boy. Okay.
Interesting. So Gengar going with a board fill option as opposed to playing the Lancer this turn. No issues with that, especially after a redraw. Redraw hands are generally a lot harder to deal with.
What a big turn.
Yeah, gain back a bunch of that defense.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. Preserving all the defense on his followers. He knows that Dominus is out of Evolution Orbs, dealing with a 4/5 much harder now.
Oh, that is huge.
Okay. Game just opened up.
Yeah.
Acceleratium off the top here.
Acceleratium double analyzing plus the Magna Legacy will get it up to probably 3 or 4.
3. I think 3. I think only 1 artifact has been put actually into play so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he could Acceleratium Mystic and maybe pump up enough play points, because the Mystic is just going to cost 1, and then the Analyzing Artifacts are going to profit at 1, right?
So if he Mystics, he gets back 2, so he'll go from 4 to 6, plays the Analyzing from 5 to 7. So he's still 1
Analyzing
short.
again. He has
Oh,
two
and then analyzing again. You're right. Yeah, so he can get all the way back up.
I think that's a choice.
I think that's a really good play because you only have to run one of the analyzings in, and then you wipe the board with Magna Legacy, and it's sitting behind a ward.
Yeah.
That feels like a really good turn.
Oh, no. Yeah, if he still rushes into the frontline Cavalier, then it's fine. Yeah. Oh, he played the Hamlin, though.
He did play the Hamlin. Interesting.
So it's going to be 6-7, so he's not going to have enough play points for it. I think Gengar is just trying to think about what's going to happen to him here on this turn, but I feel like Dominus might have given it away. He does save the option, but where is this Residence going to end?
It's true. He still needs to finish off a lot of this board.
Oh boy, they're coming out in droves now.
Okay. Okay, goes with another ward instead. So that turns the Residence off. It does protect him with some ward. It does mean that Gengar can heal a little bit more now with officers being played.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh God. Okay. Hey, that rule has been broken. Would have liked to ping the 3 health.
That's true.
There.
I mean, technically speaking, when you have a board like this, it's pretty ripe for Lancer.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I think he was considering playing the Celia before that just for like a lucky snipe, but then decided against
the option.
it. Yeah. And Barbarossa late game with support cannon.
Yeah. Careful of substitutions, but yes.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about with Portalcraft. It might look hairy with the support cannon in play and Gengar being ahead, but
big things for Gengar, I think, is finding things like King Arthur's, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's the way to continually fill out the board and continue to get chipping damage, and that makes the Sky Fortress on this turn even that much more scary. As it stands right now, there's just endless artifacts.
Now we're just going to see Portalcraft do what it does best, and that's just do a whole lot more things than you're doing all the time.
So he must be at about like 7, 8 artifacts in, right? His Saphira is probably about that much?
Yeah, he ramped up quite a bit. I think saving it's a good option just because it is the last Saphira in the deck.
Yeah.
Might as well get that huge damage push in.
Yeah.
You still have Magna Legacy in your hand as well. You really don't want to throw these options away.
I would assume that you want to save that Biofab for things like ancient artifacts.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Gengar just knows. He's like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I mean, when you have 3 cards in hand and none of them can get immediate effectiveness, right?
Yep.
And you know that there's more than your lifetime's worth of artifacts on the other side.
Yeah. That's
pretty
the big
tough.
thing. That's the big thing. Especially, I mean, again, we talked about this at the beginning of the match, Arthur being one of the key cards in pretty much every matchup for Swordcraft, but especially against Portalcraft where it needs to have a board. I feel like he just never had a chance after the shuffle started happening.
Back-to-back strong turns are what is necessary for Swordcraft.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to just punch through within kind of 2 or 3 turns, I feel like.
Yeah, it has a window of opportunity after the shuffle begins. As soon as Deus Ex hits the table, then Portalcraft just kind of does what Swordcraft does, but better every single turn, and they never run out of options. So yeah, just really hard to deal with. But getting into this match, I feel like being on the play is very important. Also, what's very important is the specific curve that you get.
Yeah.
And more so for Havencraft. It needs to have early anti-aggro options against Swordcraft, or else it can just fall behind and lose the game without ever being able to catch up.
Yeah. Okay, we're going around again. Haven versus Sword.
That's right. So good draw from Gengar here. With that mulligan, I would imagine that he is going first. Dominus has some options here. Keeps the Carapace. That's one of the cards you need.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. Aegis is not the card you want to draw. Oh, interesting. Never mind. Okay, so Gengar is actually going second.
A little bit nervous for Dominus.
Yeah, his draws have been less than stellar so far today.
Yeah. Keep in mind, guys, this is actually a loser's match. You're in loser's round 1, so this is an elimination match.
That's right. The loser of this match will walk away from the last week and stop there with their points earnings.
Yeah. So this is it for either Dominus or Gengar. And this is dangerous, man. Havencraft is like the #1 way to get yourself eliminated from a tournament, it seems, on the big stage.
It can be. It definitely can be. And this is one of the reasons. Just because its draws are so random. You never really know what the opening, 3 to 4 are going to look like, and sometimes you get 7 drops, 9 drops.
It's so interesting to think about that, right? I feel like for a lot of the competitive decks in Shadowverse, right, whether that be Ramp Dragon or it be Mid-Shadow, it felt like within a certain few turns they always auto-corrected themselves to the right curve, right?
Yes.
Just because of the draw options that they had. But that doesn't really exist for something like Havencraft as much. You know, it doesn't really kind of find its options. It's not. You have a few cards that are like Starry Elf-ish, but even then, like, you can't really control what you pick up off of it, so it doesn't really autocorrect itself.
Yeah, I think Priestess, Jeweled Priestess is probably the best option in the mid-game for the card draw options. The problem with Jeweled Priestess is that it's kind of like playing a Pure-Hearted Singer, right?
Yeah.
It's not very big, it doesn't contest the board very well.
Very underwhelming.
You have to wait a few turns for the card draw, it doesn't happen immediately, so it's still good, it's still great in Havencraft, it's slower.
Yeah, very necessary in Havencraft is what I would say.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a very important draw from Dominus. Didn't have anything to do relevant this turn. Top decked into something relevant. Very good.
Handling the Mars is so important.
Especially when you know your opponent has the white queen coming. Yeah,
there's going to be stuff being put on the board.
So this option feels like still white queen. You just evolve the white queen, and then you're left over with 3 followers this turn. Feels pretty good.
And you handled the first turtle.
Also very important.
Yeah.
Before a Summit Temple comes down, before more big followers come down.
Yeah, that turtle can really gum things up and give Havencraft the slight edge it needs to get into the later turns and be on the front foot.
That's right. So Dominus has an okay option in Priest of the Cudgel. And then he can play his Globe here.
So there's a way to kind of hind for some big board kind of affecting stuff. But I feel like you want more kind of follower amulets before you do that.
Yeah, gonna have to play very defensively, Dominus does. Next turn he can install the Moriai along with a Priest of the Cudgel to come back on the board, and then he can Serenian Hind on the following turn after that. Still wants to find a Summit Temple, but not as important right now. Right now it's just stemming the bleeding. Maybe even finding Jean's to counter Arthur turns.
Yeah. Gawain.
Ooh.
Of the Round Table.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Strong.
That was juicy.
Strong.
That was real nice.
Multiple Arthurs in hand. Support cannon in hand.
If Dominus does not present a good board as well, and does kind of the Havencraft, I'm going to drop a bunch of amulets and Blackened Scripture thing, support cannon is going to come down.
It's true. It's true. Support cannon come down. I feel like Arthur is a really good option too, but it is going into turn 7 for Dominus after the Arthur comes into play, so maybe support cannon is a better option to start with.
And then you play the Arthur, and it just helps you deal with big stats.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, in saying about the draw from Dominus has been pretty poor, I mean, we're going to see...
It gets late game options, right?
It has plenty of late game options, so it definitely has tools. But without
That's kind of... Ooh, okay.
All right. But yeah, without a Jean or something to, like, control a big board, he might run into trouble on turns 6 and 7 here after support cannon, and then Arthur craziness.
Yeah, the Priest of the Cudgel talked to Gawain about the Lord and Savior. Gave him a talk. And Gawain was like, I get it.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right, so here's the big choice for Gengar. Does go with the Arthur instead.
All right.
Possibly just doesn't want to have to take the 4 damage. A lot of the players, the way they speak about beating Havencraft is that if you can outmuscle them on turns 4 through 7, they really don't ever have enough damage to come back and beat you.
Yeah.
And they have to rely on Aegis. And that's still super slow. You can just win through it. So,
yeah.
Gengar just following that line of play.
No evolution orbs on the side of Dominus, and hey, that John that we talked about
does not exist.
Said no, John is too important, does not want to take the time of her day to join us.
And that's a super important draw to have, because it's just like in Forestcraft when you don't have the Cassiopeia for boards that you can't deal with.
Yeah.
Much in the same way, if you cannot deal with a wide board, it will just beat you in the course of a few turns.
God.
Maybe he's thinking about Heavenly Knight. Heavenly Knight seems kind of whack. I kind of like Blackened Scripture here along with the Serenian Hind, the black version, so that you can pop.
Yeah, the Moriai.
Yeah, the Dark Hind version.
Blackened Scripture will reduce its options to try to hit more valuable options.
Yeah, I think you start with Blackened Scripture on the Hedgehog, and then you play Serenian Hind and hope. Because if Serenian Hind hits the Hedgehog, then you're not as happy about your Blackened Scripture.
You definitely want a Blackened Scripture first. It's a time-old lesson learned of, hey, okay. Oh, no.
That's not, I mean, that's about as good as you can hope for when you do it on the full board, right?
Yeah.
It's
as long as you don't take out something that you would have flagged in scripture.
Yeah, 3 out of 5 chance to get something that you don't want, but that's what he does decide to do, and this is still a good time to install support cannon.
Man.
This is a beautiful time.
Could you imagine if there was a Sky Fortress now? That just is like...
Well, yeah, that's the 1-2 punch, right? You never want to have to deal with that. Fortunately for Dominus, he does not have to deal with that, but now he has to deal with support cannon, which is a beast.
Yeah, just not even an issue.
Nope.
Yep. Okay, I feel like that's it.
It definitely feels like it, but we'll see here. I mean, again, there are a few options here. A lot of defense is going to be popped out this turn. This is going to pull a Heavenly Knight.
Yes, from the heavens above. Yes, very good. But what are you going to do about these dudes?
Okay, that was a perfect draw. That was honestly the best draw that Gengar could have had outside of a Sky Fortress, just because he didn't really have high attack followers that were commanders to use with the support cannon. But now he has 2. He plays the Queen. He can run 6 damage in. The 1/1 follower gets destroyed, so he can play the second commander. Like everything about that card is just perfect this turn.
Yeah.
Oh. Decides he wants to put the 1/1 in play instead of Queen. Interesting. Oh, he's still gonna run more followers in.
Yep. I think so.
Okay.
Get the board.
Oh, awkward. Yeah, super awkward. Still fine, though.
Yeah.
Still a protected board against Jean if Dominus does manage to draw it, and still just has crazy good board options.
3, 2, 1. Aegis.
Yeah, Aegis is probably the best play here.
I mean, I think he will lose to Cilia, right?
Yeah, but I think you have to just kind of hope that your opponent doesn't have it. Yeah. Because Aegis, what it does is it stops the support cannon damage. It eats it all up.
That's right, yeah.
But deciding to go with the safer option here.
Man, and this Heavenly Light does not look healthy, even though it has 7 defense, based on the context of the board.
Yeah. And this will get eaten up pretty quickly here. But yeah, I feel like that it's kind of like a play-to-win strategy. So I think in the long term, if you just play this defensive game like Dominus is doing, he's just going to lose, right? Like the Heavenly Knight's going to last for a turn or 2, and then you have the Aegis for the next turn, but your opponent's going to have another board. If you play the Aegis this turn, it stops support cannon's effectiveness, and then it gives you a win condition, and then you just have to hope that your opponent doesn't have it.
If Celia was not the card that was sitting there, then you maybe have a life. Oh, God.
Yeah. Or you could just draw Sky Fortress, you know. Just do tons of work. And now it's too late to play the Aegis, and you have no options, and that's going to be lights out for Dominus.
Dominus from HSK is about to get kicked out here by CPV's Gengar.
That's right.
CPV might move on, and this is going to mean with you know, Fantasy and Gengar are still around, you know, and it might be a team kill.
It might be a team kill. That's right. And honestly, you can't really hope for a better outcome outside of just meeting your teammate in the finals.
Yeah.
Is that if you meet your teammate along the way to the finals, you know one's that much closer. You know that you're not both going to get knocked out before it happens.
Live on in my stead.
That's right. That's right. Plus, you've practiced against that person. You're probably comfortable, at least in their play style. You might have a thought about them as in, like, who's better, you know what I mean? But all that goes to rest because it's a tournament and anybody can win that match.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Gengar does very well for himself and takes a win. Aggro Force made it through, did very well, and then Support Cannon did what it does.
Plays Support Cannon and does a lot of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Against a deck that didn't really have a good tempo option. Like, so what I was talking about in that matchup, guys, for those of you a little bit newer to the Swordcraft or even Support Cannon new meta against Havencraft, is if you do not get those multiple Gemstone Carapaces, the early Serenian Hind, like on turn 5, the March Hare's Tea Times, like the big followers on curve to combat Sword's board, especially now with Support Cannon, you're never going to have footing in the game. There's never a chance for you to come back. Like, even if you Jean a turn, you're still reacting. There's no way to ever be the proactive player unless you're on the play and you have very specific threats.
Yeah.
It's very hard to deal with.
Yeah. It's very much reminiscent of when Lion was very popular for Havencraft. It's just like when you just fill out the board and then you just try to stop the game right there, right, on that play.
Well, now, the thing is, I mean, the matchup is still close enough to where you do get those draws well enough, but, I mean, when you start out with, you know, Jeweled Priestess, 1 Carapace, and then nothing for a couple turns, like Priest of the Cudgel on turns 4 and 6 are not really your optimal plays. They're just fine. They will clear the board, but they don't give you anything going into future turns.
Yeah. Well, there's stuff that you want to read. There's stuff that you want to do. But that kind of stuff, I have no idea what they might entail. Because it's very, very quiet in my ear. And I'm going to let everybody know that. But you can see it on screen. That's the stuff that you need to do.
Yeah. So
I'm going to just speak very around the target here.
Compete in the Shadowverse Open. We talked about this at the beginning of the broadcast. If you want to get the collector's emblem, essentially. So it's done for Pan America this season. But if you're a European player and you still need this emblem, tomorrow is that day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, following seasons will be new emblems that you can earn competing in the Shadowverse Open.
Is it ShadowverseOpen.com? Is that what we're talking about? ShadowverseOpen.com?
We're always talking about ShadowverseOpen.com. It's the website to go to. That's right.
All right, giving him a hard time.
Somebody give him some coffee.
I like giving him a hard time. But yes, the emblems are very nice. Definitely want to achieve as many of those as you can. You know, they should have a counter for how many times you've earned the emblem, so you can just like stock it.
Oh, they should. Yeah. Like I've got a lot of these.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of these. Anyway, let's look at the bracket, guys. So Trickster moving on to face off against Sprayquaza. Again, we knew that because Gengar got knocked down. Down on the bottom side of the bracket, we're going to be able to see if Fantasy or Jenga Jam can move on. Jenga Jam, we haven't seen him in a little while, but again, a name that's made a splash this season.
What a great name, too,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Jenga Jam.
Absolutely. But yeah, so we've got Dawnbreakers here, we've got Mana Surge, we've got CPV, we've got HSK, we've got Jenga Jam, who's a free agent. No Disastra to be seen in the top 6. Very interesting. Maybe the first tournament this season that we've seen that was like that.
Feels like a long time. You know, Disastra just felt like something that was just part of the tournament finals.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
It's not here. We've got Dawnbreakers, Mana Surge, CPV.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's get into our next match, guys. We're going to see that Trickster versus Sprayquaza match.
Yeah.
And their deck list, we've got Ginger Runecraft, Support Cannon, and Temple Haven for Trickster, which is a good lineup, right? It's a lineup that a lot of people are bringing today. We've got Sprayquaza with the Earthright deck, of course, that we saw getting banned this time. Do not want to play against that deck. Very interesting. Support Cannon and Artifact Portal. So I feel like pretty even matchup. It really just comes down to, can the Ginger Runecraft get its work done, or can the Portal deck get its work done, and then they kind of meet in the middle with the Support Cannon deck.
Yeah, to me, kind of in terms of the tournament play, right? Trickster and Sprayquaza were very similar, very powerful in the last season, but haven't really shown up, and now they're kind of making their stance here again right at the last
This is the time. This is the time, right? Like, if they have any amount of points, I almost want to say that if either of them win, probably in the top 8.
They basically need to pop over 27, right? And so if they had 7 points or 8 points and they win a tournament and that gives them 20, that they're done. Clean.
That's right. That's right. You compete, and that's the reason, guys, why we tell you to compete every single week. You just get 1 point or 2 points here and there every week, and then you spike one tournament, and you're there.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about it today, and I think we'll talk about it a lot moving forward, but this is about Support Cannon Sword. Talk to me about all the things that make this deck so dangerous.
This deck is just the deck. So if you notice, the only differences between the old deck and the new deck are a lot of people have chosen to add in the second Barbarossa along with the Support Cannon because it just makes sense, and then have not just one Support Cannon as an option, but 2. What are they taking out, you say? They took out one of the Mars. A lot of you, if you haven't played the Swordcraft deck a lot, Mars, even when you're on the play, even when you get it on turn 3, even when your opponent doesn't deal with it, it really doesn't set up that great of a board on turn 4 because, as we've seen, when you're on the play with Sword, your turns aren't really that great. Now, if you have Chromatic Duel into Mars, into Chimera, and it works, then it's perfect, but that rarely happens. So Mars going down as a later game option is perfectly fine. And then Frontline Cavalier getting shut down to 1 as opposed to 2 is the other
Definitely
card.
hasn't been as impactful of a card, Frontline Cavalier, even though it was kind of the go-to card aside from Floral Fencer. Right? Recently, that's been changing. I feel like the identity of Swordcraft has been changing a bit, so it's been kind of...
Definitely changing. And honestly speaking, the Japanese players took Frontline Cavalier out of their decks a long time ago. They didn't add Support Cannon, they just didn't really find the need for Frontline Cavalier. And honestly, when you see it in games, it's good, but it has its particular matchups, right? Like, it's really good against Forestcraft because it contests the board. When you're playing against the Mirror, it's fine. It doesn't really do anything because it's just going to get outvalued by every other play that's made anyway. So you don't really need it that much, but it's still good to have as an option.
So let's talk about the idea of you die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
I see, Ginger Runecraft. That's a perfect way to describe it, yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's right. you die a hero, or you live long enough to be a villain. Is that how the world works?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But if you notice, a lot of our players today have also made the change we talked about last week at DreamHack and upped the number of Word Wielder Gingers from 2 to 3. Just for consistency, just because we've seen games where if you don't draw that card, you manage to survive to become that villain.
Yeah.
Right? But then your companion, right? Your Ginger just
your
doesn't show up
yeah.
right when the world is about to change.
Yeah. And
then you kind of just fall flat on your face.
Betrayed. How could you betray me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've been watching some shows that may be of the Japanese variety that are of, you know,
nobody that plays or watches Shadowverse cares about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it talks about things that are very political and changing the world and that kind of stuff. So I just
hey, makes sense. Makes absolute sense. But if you notice, the only other tech really that people have been playing for a long time is Lion Champion. Lion Champion made its way into the deck a while ago just to combat. I mean, it's just good against, you know, anti or post Evo boards where people can't really get over the hump of it just getting +1/+1 every time it's attacked into. But everything else about the deck remains the same. Abomination Awakens still the premier option early in the game. You're still playing Hectors and all the good, you know, neutral cards like Witch's Sweet Felice
stuff. Yep.
And you just try to survive till 9. Then you play Ginger. Then you just empty your hand and say, can you deal with this? And there's only a few decks in the format that can. Dirt Rune, which got banned. Okay, so good choice.
Yeah.
Of course, any of the elite aggro decks, right? Which means aggro forest. The end. Right now, as far as just like tier 1 aggro decks. Maybe Swordcraft, you could say.
Yeah, there might be a world.
There might be a world. And then Portalcraft. Portalcraft is another one. And fortunately for Sprayquaza, he had access to both or 2 of the 3 options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he had played aggro for us, I would have been like, Sprayquaza, you are crazy.
Maybe he just wants to be Ginger Runecraft. Yeah. But if you notice, not everybody's playing Ginger Runecraft today. So the deck to beat, as always, is Swordcraft. For those of you watching, everybody's playing Swordcraft. Play 3 decks that beat Swordcraft, maybe.
Yeah. Can you do it?
Can you do it?
That's a question.
I know Bottles can't. Give him a an ask on Discord. Yeah. Be like, hey Bottles, how you beat Sword 3 times in a row?
Tell me please.
Yeah, tell me please.
Tell me please.
Not only did you beat Swordcraft 3 times in a row, he did it against Akamaru Red. That means his decks. I mean, Bottles is a great player.
Yeah.
So is Akamaru Red, though.
Yeah.
If you can beat that guy 3 times in a row playing Swordcraft, I think you know what you're doing against Swordcraft.
Yeah. Akamaru Red. I wish I could have seen him compete again.
Yeah, it's been a while. But well, he's a European player. We're not going to talk about him anymore. Again, Trickster versus Sprayquaza. The loser of this will go to the loser side of the bracket.
Yes.
And not get knocked out of the tournament.
Finals.
So this is a gimme.
This is, again, the setup, right? This is the first step in world domination for either of these players. If they want to take first place in this tournament, winning this series is going to get them very far.
It's the most important piece. It puts you on the winner's side of the bracket in the finals, which means that you get a bracket reset. If somebody beats you, they have to beat you again. Realistically, it feels that way throughout the whole tournament. It is double elimination, but when you get to the final match of the day, that's where it's all important, right? So,
Mana Surge or Dawnbreakers. Who's it going to be? Both of them are the single representatives of their clans.
That's true.
Their teams. So,
that's the official name these days, right? Teams. You don't call them clans,
guilds, squads, groups, posses,
legions.
Wow.
Going way back.
Yeah, let's call them legions from now on.
I like that word. That's one of my faves.
Allegiance? What about allegiance? What is your allegiance?
Ooh, allegiances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alliances.
Who do you answer to?
Yeah, I think we're going into too many words
I answer
here.
to Mana Surge. Oh, you scum of the earth.
That's right. I bite my thumb at you. Type
bite
verbiage.
My thumb at you.
I just did that to a whole bunch of people. I don't know if that really means anything bad anymore, but I hope not. Don't take offense to that, okay? We're just talking about old references.
Yeah, let's just backtrack a bit.
We'll backtrack a bit. But yeah, I think Ginger Runecraft, it's one of the most, and I'm going to put it frankly out there, it's one of the most unexciting decks that we've ever seen.
It's true.
Because it has a one-track mind,
up until turn 9. Once it hits turn 9, it is pretty fun.
There was one player who challenged my judgment of the deck, though.
Yeah?
Watching Onion Sheet play the deck, he actually won several times well before turn 9, off of the back of very well placed and evolved Abomination Awakens. So
that is definitely a key card.
It is a key card. So I saw him win as early as turn 6 with Ginger Rune, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But essentially, if you can build a board and protect it, a 6/6 for 3 is
insane.
Really fast. It's really hard to deal with. It's like, think about Swordcraft, right? We talked about even on turn 5 dealing with a 4/5.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
It's very hard. How do you deal with a 6/6?
Yeah.
even harder.
It's just 2 away from Anime.
Right, it's just 2 away from Anime. Swordcraft does not have a lot of big followers to evolve on turns 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And it can get really hard, especially if you start protecting it with things like Hector.
Yeah,
and
it
you
starts
just kind of go off the back.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right, because once you get to those turns for Ginger Rune, there's some very powerful kind of turn swinging cards that you can play back to back.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe it. It just depends on how many kind of dirtly 1/2s draw card stuff you have before then.
Well, he's the reason why I even say you challenge my perception of the deck is because a lot of times when you're playing against Abomination Awakened, you're thinking, okay, how many cards can they get up to next turn? I need to make sure I either take it out if they can get to 9, or I leave it if they can.
Yeah.
And just ignore it, because it requires so many resources to get rid of.
To try to just swing into the 6 damage.
And Onion Sheep's like, I'm going to play against that strategy and make it seem like I can't get to 9. Evolve it anyway and just go face.
Yeah.
So it's a threat one way or another that you might just have to deal with. I just don't think a lot of players, at least that I've played against on the ladder or seen or even heard about, take that line. They kind of just let the Abomination sit there and then play the rest of their game another way.
It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's a lot of stats.
It's a lot of stats.
Yeah. Hey, if you want somebody who has experience losing to all these things, then just come talk to me, because I've lost to Abomination Awakened before. Just hard evolved.
Actually, that's a good and relevant point for a lot of players out there. So I know there are players out there. I've seen them in my Discord. I've seen them in different Discords. They're like, man, I just can't win. I can't win today. I can't win with this class. I can't win with this deck. How do I cope? Message Rainy. Good old Rainy over here will be the guy, you know, the shoulder you can cry on.
Yeah.
Just tell him your misery, and he'll be like, you know what, buddy? We're in it together.
The key is, and this is the answer, right? The answer is that you don't cope. It's just, that's the way the world is.
Just make sure that if you ever do reach out to Rainy, that you have about $500 saved in the bank so that you can pay for your therapy bills afterwards. Because if you thought you could sink low, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah. I'm gonna, after this broadcast, go cry to myself in my room.
He has his own room here. He lives in the office. That's another reason why he's sad.
Yeah, I used to live on the set, as you guys may know if you've been following the journey of the promotion videos. But since then, I've been kicked out by a pirate, and I've had to go to other people's places and eat their cereal.
And you were almost mauled by a carrot once in your house.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I had to move out.
It's pretty rough. All right, guys, jumping into a match here. Okay. Not a terrible mulligan. He does have a 2-drop. Again, now it's a random 2-drop and no artifact pullers, and that's not a Deus Ex in hand.
That's my goal. I want to see a Wandering Bard play today.
Yeah?
That's my goal.
Elta, another card that I've never seen more effectively used than last week. Elta can be backbreaking against some decks. Again, turning off all fanfare effects on Evolve. If you can protect it behind wards on multiple turns, it can get pretty dicey.
Yeah. I think we see it so uncommonly that there are cards that just become infinitely worse, right?
Oh,
Once you realize, like, wait a minute, none of this stuff works.
I actually can't do anything with any of my cards. I can play it for stats and evolve it, and that's about it.
Yeah.
All right, so Deus Ex drawn, so now Sprayquaz's hand looking a little bit better here. But there's only 2 real ways to beat Ginger Runecraft as Portal. You either beat them before turn 9, which is this is not a hand to do it, at least not yet anyway, or you have to be able to fight through the turn 9 backbreaking Ginger play, which means that you have to generate a lot of cheap artifacts, get your Deus Ex online, and have the draw ready for turn 9.
Yeah. Zeus and Ishraful in hand, so that's, you know, the beginning piece. They're assembling the goon squad, right, of stuff that you play alongside Ginger. Ginger and her posse, you know?
That's a lot of Hectors.
Yeah.
If Abomination was the turn 3 play instead of Witch of Sweets, I could just see this as done, right? That's just like, that's infinite damage just in setup.
Back it up.
But no Abomination Awaken Insight, so Sprayquaza just going to play his standard. I'm going second. Wipe the board.
Very good. Oh, another one. No turn. Fine. You know what? Swordcraft does this.
Yeah,
you can do it too.
Swordcraft does it. You know what? Portalcraft doesn't have anything in play. Honestly, I don't feel like in this format right now, it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it's actually why I really like one of the new cards they spoiled. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a gold card. It's neutral. 4 play 0.34. That will put a 3-cost destroy an enemy follower with 4 defense or less into your hand spell. So now every deck will have an option on the play on turn 4 to do something that's relevant.
That will gain them more plays turns after.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been kind of like, you know, this card's whatever. In my mind, think about the problem in rotation right now.
Setting that 3 play point card up, it could be key. And like a lot of people, you know, being able to surpass stats on the board, right? Like if it was something like a 7/4, you know, being able to surpass the fact that there's 7 damage on the card is very strong.
It's very strong, and honestly, it just gives you a turn 4 play that you're not unhappy about.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have another effect. It can also put you a 1-cost spell that will heal for 2, restore 2 defense to an ally, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is a fine effect, but I mean, how many times have we seen turns where it's just like, man, their turn 4 on the play is just, it doesn't do anything.
It's literally just throwing away options.
Yeah. You're throwing it into an evolution turn.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the one thing that the game needs to bridge now that the game has gotten more balanced, is that first evolution feels really backbreaking for the person going second. But I feel like cards like that are definitely at least the first signs of that bridge being built.
Not set to its counter.
We'll see. It's an ever teeter-tottering balance, right?
That's right. This is a pretty good setup here from Sprayquaza here. He's got a 6/2 now that has to be dealt with. Hector's, of course, we know, are waiting in the wings. But now Radiant Artifact to be able to push some more tempo.
Okay, that was it, right? Has basically everything, and then now has a Ginger.
That's right. It's got 2 Isserfils, has a Zeus, has a Ginger. Probably looking for 1 more big threat, but 3 more turns to get there. Plenty of time.
The question is there the hand in Sprayquaza to push the issue, right? Can he actually push for a game-ending board state? Which I don't know. You still have 2 Evolution Orbs.
Yep.
You have 1 more Hector.
And I really like this play. This allows for him to play the Radiant Artifact next turn to push for some damage. This also allows for some setup plays too if he wants to throw some artifacts into his deck like Cat Cannoneer and things like that. No. I feel like that is not good. Copying 5-cost artifacts against Ginger Runecraft means that you're trying to play this game where you just have really good threats to like just end the game over time, not really to break through a big board.
He's got a Lion Champion as well. Every bit of ward just slows you down that much more.
You got to put the tiny followers into your deck, not the big ones.
Yeah.
We're going to see how that plays out for Sprayquaza, though. Maybe he knows something I don't, which is, I mean, more than possible.
Yeah.
I'm just a caster, okay?
Oh, what? Just don't. Just the messenger.
That's right.
Don't. The message. Yeah. Don't do that.
Messenger starts with mess. I'm kind of a mess.
True.
True. Perfect.
True
I love how we're allies when we're on the broadcast together.
Yeah.
We're always, you know, talking each other up.
Yeah.
No, it's completely the opposite.
Hey, based on what you actually are in your current state of life, I am complimenting you.
Ouch. Jeez, man. Just cut me deep. All right, Sprayquaza, what do you got here? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
I mean,
Trickster's trying to think about how to close out his turn and what is going to happen.
Maybe he's just thinking about evoing what the possible bad sides are. On Sprayquaza's side of things, again, not really a lot of options. I feel like he's on this plan of putting Radiant Artifacts into his deck. He might put another one. He might put another 2 copies into his deck.
Yeah.
He might try to pull one next turn. That's not going to do anything.
It's 2 turns to make whatever it is happen, right?
Okay. Every time, it looks like his hand is just not going to do anything. That one card off the top helps.
Yep, start copying it. I would copy it again.
Yep, copy, copy, copy. Fill up the board with some card draw.
Oh.
That's good, but again, remember, that's one of his only, if not his only, ancient artifact in the deck.
And he just threw it away. Bye-bye.
And then putting some card draw down. This is not bad. This is definitely not bad. He keeps Resonance
on your hand. Yeah.
Maybe he goes with the fighter? No, okay. He's going to go with the card draw.
Yeah. I think this is good. Try to get more ancient artifacts installed. Don't see it.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. Now, this was a good setup turn, though.
Lion Champion, though.
It's good, but without an evolution, it means that Sprayquaza only needs to run one of these followers in, plus a big Evo. Does he have a big Evo? He does. He has a Radiant.
But the question for me is, if it's not ending the game now, right, what is going to happen? afterwards.
Well, let's see what Sprayquaza decides to do with this hand. This hand is very close, if not already there, to being able to deal with a big board here. But he's using all of his artifacts now instead of waiting.
Yeah, and they're just going to get blown away.
He does have Hamlin. Okay.
Okay.
He does have Miriam. He does have one analyzing artifact. He has a puppet. We'll see if that's enough to break through the turn, because it's going to happen. Now, actually, there is a universe where Israfil's the play here instead of Ginger.
Israfil evolve.
But I feel like you just do that behind the Ginger anyway and wipe out the board. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's set up a potentially game-ending solution.
And then both Zeus are wait, there's only one Zeus still, right?
There's one Zeus.
Okay, one Zeus. But that one Zeus gets to remain with 10 defense.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to trade into anything.
It won't be long now.
Yep, just getting that out of the way right now.
Play a song of sorrow.
Will mean a lot of card draw for Sprayquaza, though. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Looking pretty good now.
He has options. Oh, wow, he goes for the card draw. I thought it might have been Zeus and Happy Pig.
Yeah, Happy Pig feels like a better option to me than not getting any use out of your Pure-Hearted Singer, but I guess this could set up card draw for next turn.
Yeah. That mill went very well for Sprayquaza. Throwing away the Deus Ex, I think, is ideal.
Right. Not set to its counter.
Ooh, maybe misplayed that a little bit. Got lucky on the burn though. Burn the higher cost one.
Yeah, and got the Ancient Artifact, so that's good.
Definitely a risk that he just took, but it paid off. Here we go.
Okay, this is it. Evolution Orb, a bunch of Rush, the ability to copy an Ancient Artifact. There's a lot going for Sprayquaza. Oh, okay, yeah, he did copy it, okay.
You might say I'm a
And the Evolve is going to gain him possibly another Ancient.
Yep.
Let's see.
He's hoping. Another...
okay.
Not what you want to see.
I think there's still a world where he gains back his play points, right?
1, 2, 3. He gains not back up to 5. Unless he draws more.
Man, there's still so much defense, though. You have to chew through 14 more defense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, putting these Radiant Artifacts in the deck, one of them got milled, so it doesn't feel as good.
He's getting 3 play points every artifact drop.
Okay, so that will. The Accelerating will help here. I don't see a world where he destroys all of the Israfils, though.
He's running out of board space is a problem.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So there's 10.
Going to draw an artifact for him. He didn't have enough.
Just concedes anyway. I mean, honestly, we know that there's double Illusionist in hand for Trickster, so the Zeus was just going to get replicated at least. So, yeah, he just knew it. So, I feel like I knew what was going on there. Radiant Artifacts are not what you want to copy in this matchup. You need a lot cheaper things. He also played all of his artifacts right before turn 9 as opposed to holding on to a good board sweeping effect. Quite unfortunate. But, yeah, Sprayquaza realized he wasn't going to be able to clear the board. And rightfully so, just exited out of that game.
Yeah. Ginger Rune is pretty good.
Yep, and that was the important matchup in my mind. Whoever won that one was probably going to take the match because, again, we get down to this Swordcraft having to win. You have to beat it twice.
Yeah.
And it's really dicey.
Let's see if Trickster can close it out, though. Now it's all about Swordcraft.
I don't know the last time I actually have seen in competitive play, and even really on ladder, Swordcraft deck beating a Portalcraft deck. It's very hard. It's very hard for the Swordcraft player just because of the endgame. Now, Sprayquaza's deck is leaning a little bit more heavy on the Radiance, just because he is playing the Mechwing Swordsmans. He is playing the fighter that you see. So it could possibly be that the cards are just a little bit slower in this version, to where Swordcraft has a chance. But still, I don't see it. I think this is still a really lopsided matchup.
The Bane of Swordcraft.
Yes. If you want to beat Swordcraft, this is definitely one of the decks to do it. Absolutely.
How do you treat the mulligan here as a Swordcraft player?
I mean,
what is your ideal situation?
The thing is, unless you're playing a super grindy game, you always want to mull for curve. But when you're playing games against the Mirror matchup or Portalcraft, keeping Arthurs in your opening hand or Gwaines in your opening hand, I've seen a lot of players do. That's about it. Other than that, it's just kind of curve.
He's got a curve?
He does have a curve.
Yep.
This is actually the perfect draw from Trickster, as what I was talking about with the Mars and the Queen play. Doesn't happen often, but when you can get it, it feels really good.
Oh, and the Barbarossa.
Yeah.
So if you can sidestep substitutions or bait out substitutions on things like the Mars.
Yeah, well, having the substitution is really good for Sprayquaza. It means he can fight off this Mars that's going to be protected by a ward. And
There's
the
a lot of
support cannon.
options.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah.
I mean, as a sword player, you can't really hope for a better draw than this. Honestly, early
Yeah.
game against Portalcraft is about as good as it gets.
We'll see if it translates into something tangible for Sprayquaza. So substitution down now.
So that's how it's done.
And Trickster knows that's pretty game-changing.
Yep. And no follower for Queen Chimera to run into, so Vals will be the play here.
Don't get too carried
Yep.
away.
But then support cannon, it didn't work last time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it does this time. Trickster does have it on the play. He's still at 20 defense,
I'm a genius.
so there's plenty of time to work with.
Pulls in artifacts.
Eureka! Excellent work.
Trickster going nuts on the emotes this game.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm not happy about this matchup.
Sprayquaza wanted to maintain stats on Icarus rather than hold to copy the ancient artifact.
I don't mind that plan at all. Force Swordcraft to evolve against you because, again, their followers are small. Force them to evolve, get rid of those options so that your artifacts can just kind of take over.
Yeah, got another substitution, and that's fantastic, especially against Barbarossa.
Ooh, the puppet play to protect his other followers from the support cannon.
Oh, do it, yes, yes.
That is really
Wow,
risky.
he did it! What? I was just, okay.
Okay, okay. You know what? Maybe not so risky. That's right. The spell bomb still be able to play that turn.
Yeah.
Still
He
kill
is
off one
going
of the
to have
followers.
huge turns after turns now. That's crazy, but that also reduces the effectiveness of things like Arthur.
Hugely reduces the effects of things like Arthur. But I think that's okay. You need to do outside the box things in order to beat this deck. This is definitely one of those things.
Okay, what it is?
Let's see.
Barbarossa?
Is there anything bad that this Lancer can do if you play it for 7? I don't think so. I think worst outcome is that the support cannon double hits the 4/4 or the 3/3, and then you have to run in your Lancer anyway.
Yeah, you would want it to spread one on each, the 4/3 and the 4/4, right? Or yeah. Okay. Well, this is certainly going to clear out the board. Bop, bop.
The march goes on.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
Yep, nothing
Good.
wrong with that.
That's if you are watching out for substitutions with Sprayquaza has tons of, that is the best way to use Barbarossa.
Here we go.
I'll stay true to
He knows that
myself.
Barbarossa can come down and clear this, but he'll still be ahead with it. Barbarossa actually immediately clears this on play. Maybe even kind of forcing Trickster to play it so that he can substitution it.
I think that's very dangerous. I think you want to look for alternative options.
We'll see here. I like this. If that was what Sprayquaza was thinking, I think it's an amazing play. Even not thinking that, it's an amazing play because it can bait out the Barbarossa here.
It achieves a lot for Sprayquaza, right? I think taking advantage of the fact that Trickster played 2 support cannons, pushing the issue of saying, hey, I'm going to try to close out this game, it's fantastic.
Yes, it is. I mean, there are options like Lancer. Lancer can come down and destroy it, and you can play something after it. Actually,
I
you
think
can't.
Queen just
there's
finishes
nothing.
it off, or 3/6. Yeah.
Yeah, Queen will finish it off. You lose board, then you're left over with a 1/1, but then you still have 4 play points left over. You can play a Gwaine.
Just burns with pride.
Or set up a Vulse.
Yeah, set up a Vulse. Let's see here. You can also just Vulse and use the Spell Bomb this turn to not have to get rid of your Queen.
Which is pretty good. I mean, I think there's not really many more good opportunities to use the Spell Bomb, right? Because on artifacts kind of feels a little underwhelming.
Wow, I really don't like that evolution.
Inconsolable void.
Basically using an Evolve to do something you could have already done.
Yeah. And the stats might be really important for you.
Yeah. Maybe just thinking that the hand for Sprayquaza is not really good enough to deal with a board is the consideration.
This machine shall weave your fate.
Okay.
Okay.
Machine-driven world
On
of
turn 8, a
defense.
Deus Ex on turn 8 does not feel great, though.
Still not
That's
bad, though.
Very late.
Getting it at any point in the game, especially with the defense lead you see here with Sprayquaza. I don't think Sprayquaza feels like he's in too much trouble just yet. And this is kind of like the back-breaking nature. Like, support cannons are great.
Oh,
And they do a lot of work, but when you can win out of hand,
Yeah.
it's much harder to actually control the entire game with them.
Okay, Barbarossa is still very dangerous, especially with the Cat Cannoneer is going to exactly be able to put it into the combo of substituting.
Mhm.
How else are you going to play the Sky Fortress here?
Well, you could Valse this turn and play a Lancer, and then you can set up next turn having an officer with potential ward if you want on it, because you'll have 2 officers in play. And then play the Sky Fortress next turn.
Yeah.
That's probably the best possible way, because you get 2 followers in play this turn.
Man, I can't believe he played 2 support cannons.
Actually, I just really like that play in general. Your opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They don't really have a lot of options. Let me put 2 followers in play so I can get a potential Sky Fortress out.
Don't get too carried away.
That looks like what he's going with. No.
He wants the cannon to get rid of it.
Oh, he's putting all 3 followers in play. Okay. Okay.
Filling out the board.
Just wants the highest probability chance of getting that Sky Fortress out.
Ooh, he actually baits out his substitution.
So that's how it's done.
I don't know if Trickster is going to think, okay, he's used 2 substitutions.
He's not holding on.
Oh,
to these.
wow.
He wants to
Okay, now he
shuffle his
knows.
hand. Yeah.
He knows, yeah. There's no more substitutions. That's right. He's going to shift his hand. But giving that information away to Trickster means there's no possibility he can hit another substitution now.
That's right. Now Barbarossa is a free and clear play.
And I think that
Often
might be
the
actually a
Trickster
little
wants
bit backbreaking, right? Turn after turn, Barbarossa doing 5 and 5.
Maybe, but look at the hand. We're already looking at lethal sitting in hand for Sprayquaza. That redraw was it. And there's no
That's
ward
true,
here
yeah.
for Trickster.
Is there any officers? He doesn't have any officers either.
Nope, this is just it.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. Double support cannon still not good enough to beat Portal.
Yeah.
This matchup is so lopsided that even with both of your tech cards in play,
Yeah.
just can't do it.
Yeah.
And you were going first. What else? I mean, like, what else could you possibly want in this matchup, right? I'm not saying like going first in this matchup necessarily means anything other than the fact that you had a chance to get ahead, but you couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Sprayquaza is going to tie it up 1-1. And again, this is winners final, so this match is very important for people who actually want to take the first place finish in the tournament. You do not want to drop this game.
No, you don't. And this matchup comes down to better card value, essentially. So not necessarily best curves on 1 through 4. You don't necessarily need any curve on 1 through 4. You just need to maybe have something to combat a 2-drop or whatever. It comes down to who plays the first support cannon, how they protect their boards against opposing support cannons, and how early they can draw Valse to get rid of their opposing support cannons.
All right.
And we've seen some pretty crazy games over the course of this week and last week with support cannon. It's only going to get more fun. It's about a perfect draw for Trickster here. Sprayquaza with not too bad of a hand as well. Sky Fortress a little bit, you know, early, but
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, we've seen games where you just don't naturally draw into some of these options, and that can be very dangerous as well.
I think you're forced to keep Valse in this matchup, and I do think you have to do the fantasy thing now, where the first Valse you play, unless you think your hand is just really going to out-tempo your opponent, you just you get the Holy Spell Bomb, yep, and hold it for that support cannon.
Oh, 2 Valses.
Because easy way to counter, right? They take their turn to support cannon, you take your turn to remove it, you're back to even again. You're back to right where the matchup should be.
Yep. And they are 1 option down.
Yep.
Right?
All right, no good 2-drop here for Sprayquaza against that Hedgehog, so he's going to pass. That means subsequent turns are going to get even harder because this Valse, I mean, I don't know. With tempo like this, a first Hedgehog with no response on a 2, this might lead me to Fatal Spell Bomb. But no, going the safe route. Yeah. And good on him. Both players, again, have access to their support cannons now.
Uh-oh.
But this Hedgehog might be getting in too much work for you to be able to slow down with Valse here if you're Sprayquaza. We'll see. See what he decides to do on turn 4 here.
Turn 4, pass.
Yep. Yep. I mean, if it's not Valse, right? Like, what are your other turn 4 plays that you're happy with? Answering opposing board states with your own rush followers? No. Okay, that's not on the list.
Throwing your Gawain to just get traded into by Evolve, that doesn't feel good.
Nope. Now, if you want to consider protecting the Hedgehog so it stays around, then you definitely need to play a follower this turn, which he is going to do.
Okay.
I actually really don't mind this. You don't need to reduce anything. You don't have the Arthur or the Sky Fortress in your hand. This will force an Evolve, but, of course, Vols can take care of both of these followers. So,
but it also causes Sprayquaza to use Evolve to get the Fatal Spell Bomb, rather than the Holy Pure Bomb, I believe it's called.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no missing when you're this close.
But another Vols in the hand.
Missing when you're this close. Not a very cool statement.
Not a very cool statement. If you've got a gun and you're standing right next to somebody, don't taunt them.
Yeah.
Okay? I never miss from this distance. It's
like, wow, cool.
Well, yeah.
Cool, dude.
Here we go. Support cannon wars are off.
Interesting.
I like the way Sprayquaza set this up. So if Trickster wants to take the turn off to Holy Pure Bomb now,
then he's gonna get smacked for another 4.
Yep.
This is the tempo swing is so strong going second now. You know, like you would imagine that Trickster would be in the spot that Sprayquaza is in.
It's true. It's very true. And another important aspect of this matchup is Black Queen Magnus can actually protect your board from a support cannon push on a single turn, so that you can get ahead. So that's another important part if you have to play against the mirror and you both have support cannon in play. Think about how you can best utilize your Black Queen Magnus and set up a board that your opponent can't deal with, and then kind of use that momentum. So this almost feels like old school Dragoncraft. Whoever has the proactive approach or has the ability to be proactive is always ahead. And Queen Magnus the Black is one of those ways you can kind of flip it.
Oh, okay. He commits to taking the 4.
At least 4 here.
So this is all about Sprayquaza setting up another banish for this support cannon, or trying to find another support cannon of his own and kind of swing the turn back to his side. Trickster is going to slowly try to crawl his way back into this game using this support cannon. That's going to be,
that's right,
a big thing for him.
So this turn's a little awkward. I mean, you have a couple decent plays here. You can Vulse alongside of a Lancer or a Lancer of the Tempest.
We'll see what it hits. Okay.
I don't.
So that's how it's done.
I don't like that at all. He basically set himself up for a 1 in 3 chance of not being able to clear this board, which cannot feel good.
Yeah. He has to play the Lancer and evolve it if he wants a full clear.
Yep. It's the only option now. And I feel like you don't have to, because you're not going into turn 8. Sky Fortress still isn't an option for Sprayquaza, and he hasn't used a Gawain. So you don't necessarily need to clear the entire board this turn.
Yeah.
But it never feels good to leave anything on your opposing side of the field when you're playing this matchup.
I surrender.
He's going to do it.
Oh, wow. Okay. The Evolve Orb goes into that. So we'll see. We'll see what Sprayquaza does, because he really needs to answer this board, because they're both very dangerous, right? With the Sky Fortress available. And that's going to delay that Pure Bomb. If you take the turn to play the Pure Bomb, you leave at least 1 card on board.
Yep. And you're leaving something behind that's pretty fragile.
Okay.
Went for the Barbarossa instead.
Okay. That is...
Wow. Wow. Leaves the support cannon and gets rid of the Barbarossa. I respect maybe the process of, you know what, I can just run him out of cards and he has to play commanders for it to be effective, but challenging Sword to play commanders, especially when they have extra cards like Chromatic Duel in their deck that let them get 2 for 1, it's pretty risky. If I'm Trickster right now, I just fill up the board. Fill up the board, set up for
White Queen.
Fill up the Sky Fortress.
Hemera.
Yeah. White Queen, pop it, get a 1/1 out. You can play, and then
well,
actually
the White Queen will shoot.
Queen.
Yeah, the White Queen will actually just destroy the Hedgehog.
That's right. So that's even better. So yeah, just destroy the Hedgehog, play the other Queen, or set up a Vulse. Yeah.
I would probably save the Magnus for a spring answer. Do you feel like it's worth it to do that?
That's true. That is true. I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be the play. Setting up a Vulse is also very fine. The Queen would deal extra damage to face and protect your board, let's see, against a Lancer of the Tempest. But I don't.
Yeah.
I guess that wouldn't be too effective against the board anyway.
Yeah.
Bow it down.
You got a pretty beefy board. Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't mind that play. The play looks perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Setting up Hedgehog, protecting it.
Yeah.
Setting up Sky Fortress, hopefully.
It won't be long now.
And
He
free
really
throw.
wants that Hedgehog to stay.
All right, so what does that mean for Sprayquaza now? Let's see. So there is a Gwaine. That'll become a 4/5. There's a Lancer that can destroy any of these things. Yeah. Okay, that 2-drop was perfect draw.
Yeah.
Literally a perfect draw.
Yeah, just filling out the curve.
So this is the end game.
Okay. Still has the potential. Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the play.
Yeah. This will set up for the Sky Fortress as well on the next turn very well.
Got the Celia.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
This is lights out.
Oh my goodness.
This is lights out.
What could possibly? You don't have the support cannon on your end, so even if you counter,
You're just gonna keep getting
Yeah.
hard countered every
Yeah.
single turn.
yeah.
When you're left with nothing in play in this matchup, cannot feel good.
Oh no. Yeah. What the heck just happened there?
They split.
Wow.
The
they
7-10
are-
split. He bowled him right down the middle.
Wow. Did King Arthur just man the cannon himself? I'm pretty sure King Arthur is just chilling on the cannon right now.
Who loaded him in there?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
there we go.
There we go. Woo.
Wow. God, this is so strong.
Yeah, it's too strong, as a matter of fact. I would highly say Sprayquaza is out of this thing. Let's see. Is there anything he can do? He can play a
Would you
Hedgehog
say?
and Sky Fortress it. That's not going to be good enough.
Yeah. Sprayquaza, it's not the end of the day for him, but he does fall down to the loser's bracket here if he cannot find a way out of this scenario, which I mean,
It's not enough
There's
yet.
nothing to do here.
yeah.
There's going to be 7 left over. Any other
Can't
out-of-hand
even
damage?
push through the Hedgehog. Oh, he's got the Clash, yeah, so he will.
You got the Clash.
But that's it.
But that's it. You're going to be sitting at 1, and your opponent still has a support cannon. I guess technically the game's not going to be over next turn.
This is where the Celia comes. Off the top.
That's true. Celia could come.
Pop. Nope.
But yeah, I just don't see any way Trickster is going to lose this game now.
It's tough. I mean, there are no Valses in sight. The support cannon there is still firing. Talk to me about the decision to get rid of Barbarossa.
I don't like it. Deal with Barbarossa. Make them pay 8 every single turn for the effect. Don't let
Yeah.
them get it for free every single turn.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I mean, that support cannon has been paying for itself turn after turn after turn, right? So.
I mean, just the turns are too strong with it. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yep. Trickster.
So Trickster, I still feel like should wipe the board, right? You still have to wipe the board. You never want to allow a Sky Fortress to come down and at least gain ward. So you want to clear out all the officers, if there are any. Other than that, you're not really too worried. Counting the damage, there's 4 sitting in play. With Sky Fortress would be 7. And
So if you
there's no 2-drop that deals extra damage. Yeah, so no
Yeah.
lethal setup for Sprayquaza at all next turn.
interesting. Okay, so that means that Arthur's gonna run into there. Yeah. Yep.
He could, or he could just go face. But yeah, cleaning the board seems perfectly fine.
Yep. Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, Sprayquaza.
Now it's lights out.
Oh man, 100 prizes and a loss is one of them.
That's exactly what happens. Support cannon versus support cannon. The person who removes the support cannon wins.
Yeah, mirror match is rough. Very uncompromising.
It's super rough. Yeah. I think there's only one way to play it now, right? Play the first support cannon, or keep the only support cannon, or have more Arthurs and Sky Fortresses than your opponent. Everything else kind of just falls into the cracks in that matchup.
Yeah. Tough. Sprayquaza, though, moves on, and he is well positioned to represent Mana Surge. Take it home.
Absolutely. I think Sprayquaza, showing off his stuff today.
Sorry, was it Trickster?
Yeah.
Is my brain going crazy?
I think
I
you led
flipped
me.
it
You
off
led
in
me.
my head, yeah.
So I think
Trickster
I
that
think,
moves
I
on.
think Trickster's doing really well today. I think he's showing up, and honestly speaking, Trickster's been one of the people who's been doing well.
When we saw him Chronogenesis,
Period.
he always made very good decisions.
Yeah.
And there were several times he just made good decisions that put him second place, right? Literally just all the way to the end.
Yeah, almost there, always, right?
Yeah.
Last season, you know, did very well for himself. This season hasn't picked up the pieces often, but again, if he spikes this tournament, that's all he needs to do, and then he's right in there for the regional playoffs this time, and very well positioned to win. I mean, getting that close and then falling off, the fire's there to come back and get it done.
So, very good spot, and Sprayquaza not out of it yet. That means Manasurge and CPV are just barely in there, right? They're having to fight for their spot.
That's right. So if you guys want to keep up with the action and stay on the beat, as they say, check out Twitter at Games Esports, guys. That's where you got to go. At Shadowverse Games, nice as well, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with the actual game. But at Games Esports, we've got, you know, play-by-plays as the rounds go. We've got when the future tournaments are happening, all the important information surrounding it. So go ahead and go there, give it a follow, and enjoy all the content.
Yeah, fantastic kind of pictures of events and stuff like that. So definitely give it a follow. Very interesting. So what is going to happen? We're going to eat some chocolate bars that are often found in square shapes. That means we're going to, you know, take a break. You know, eat one of those.
I like that one the best so far.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
What are they? They're like wafer. What do you call like what's inside those chocolate bars?
Magic.
Well, we're gonna have a magical break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, the last open qualifier of the Pan America Shadowverse Open continues.
Sick of not being a millionaire? Playing Shadowverse could get you an all-expenses-paid trip to Japan to compete for a massive $1 million first-place prize in the Shadowverse World Grand Prix. That's right, $1 million. So how do you win $1 million? First, you have to qualify for one of our 3 Contenders Cups. We have one for Southeast Asia and Oceania, one for the Americas, and one for Europe. These cups are where 2018's top players are flown to LA or Singapore to fight for the World Grand Prix invitations. It's gonna be epic. And how do you qualify for our Contenders Cups? First off, mark up your calendars, because this year we are introducing the Shadowverse World Circuit. This consists of 3 offline tournaments that anyone can take part in: DreamHack Tours, the SVO Open, and DreamHack Montreal. Anybody from anywhere can compete for the 10K prize pool per tournament. And as an added bonus for local players, winning your home region's tournament will get you flown to the Contenders Cup to fight for a slot in the World Grand Prix. You can also secure a Contenders Cup slot by winning one of our Pan America or European spring or summer online tournaments. Some slots for the Contenders Cups will go to players with the most 2018 league points. We've got 4 slots for competitors in Pan America, 4 slots for Europe, and 2 for SVO. Didn't make the cut? No sweat. There's one more chance to qualify via our last chance wildcard tournaments that will take place in each region in September. Win one of those, and boom, you're in. You'll be gatecrashing the Contenders Cup with all the other contenders, where an almighty clash of wills shall decide the final players who get to take part in the World Grand Prix. So this year, we are giving even more people even more chances than ever to win cash, just for playing Shadowverse. Our 2018 Global Esports calendar now covers 120 countries. And if winning money and basking in esports glory all sounds a bit like too much effort, just sit back and relax. We'll be streaming Shadowverse Esports all year round on the official channel, so you can watch the best players in the world slug it out week to week. It's never been a better time for competitive Shadowverse. What are you waiting for? Go check out ShadowverseOpen.com.
Welcome back. The Pan America Shadowverse Open continues. We have a lot of fun stuff to do today.
That's right. Remember, guys, it's week 5, the all-important week. We're going to find out who the top 8 competitors are that are going to the regional finals, as well as the MVP of the season. We've got some tough competition today with a lot of different decks from the meta. It's not just one particular thing that's going on today. So basically everybody bringing their own flavors.
Yeah, all sorts of flavors. We got to see kind of the early part of the bracket play out. And remember, at the end of the day today, we know who the top points earners are, as well as who the MVP is.
Which is awesome. I think being an MVP, this reminds me all the way back to the first season when Les got MVP, just because he was a multiple winner.
He was the first.
Yeah, and he just showed up and did a lot of work. Being MVP is something, right? A, it means that you're in the regional finals, first of all, right? Second, it means that you've gotten yourself into the best position to earn points for the end of the year, and you get a flair nobody else gets to have.
Yeah, the MVP.
Yeah,
that's very good.
That's a pretty sweet setup.
Currently, Crumsion is on the top of that list. We'll see if that changes.
That's true.
Actually, no. Crumsion is on the top of
he's the top of the yearly
list.
That's right, top of the yearly list.
But not necessarily the top of the Dawnbreak Nightedge list.
Technically speaking, any of these players could be on top, depending on how many points they had going into the day. So MVP is technically still up for grabs.
Yeah, up for grabs. So these players are battling it out right now to try to secure their spot, and possibly between Trickster and Sprayquaza and Gengar, maybe Jenga Jam, who comes from this losers bracket, any of them could potentially. I guess Gengar is kind of already in it.
Yeah.
But any of these other 3 players, if they win, depending on how many points they have, they only need about 9, right? If they get that first place finish, they are in.
That's true. That's true. And that's why it's important to be competitive and consistent all season long, because all it takes is that one spike. I mean, give yourself the most opportunities to get those 20 points, because as we see, it can be super volatile. There hasn't really been many multiple winners or even multiple high finishes this season. Everybody's kind of just shuffling around that 20 to 27 point range, you know what I mean? There's not really, too many things happening. Maybe a person spiked a tournament but then just hasn't really done so well after that, you know what I mean? So it all comes down to a final week, which is awesome. I love it. I love the chaos.
The final week. We should make a parody of that song, the ever popular Final Countdown.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's the final week of Shadowverse.
That's right.
What would it be?
I don't know. I don't know how you transfer that. I'm not really good music.
Somebody help.
Yeah, somebody help us. Maybe write a song, give it to us, we'll see if we like it. Maybe we'll use it. I kind of dig it.
This recent week, you just came back from France and you got to see a bunch of people competing in Europe. What do you think were the biggest Shadowverse lessons learned out there?
Make sure if you're going with a group to get a house. Disastra taught me that lesson, okay? They had a lot of people, okay?
Yeah.
We also learned that Bottles snores very loud. So if you don't have a big house where you can hide away from that, maybe you don't get any sleep. Also, accommodations are pretty rough. When you stay in a hotel room with more than a couple people, and I've known that. I've done that plenty of times in my coming up competitive card game years, where you travel to one event or another, you get one hotel room, you're sleeping 8 guys. It gets pretty rough. You need some space, especially where there's a snore. There's always a snore.
Yeah.
Bottles just happens to be that group's.
And you the short straw. So
but you can't really get mad at him because he traveled from the United States, whereas most other people only came from Europe.
Yeah.
So you know he made it out there.
That sounds like fun. Would you want to be one of the 8?
Sure.
I got to sleep with the snoring Bottles.
Yeah. Just do it. Life lessons. Another big lesson I learned was don't take the meta for granted, as usual. I think, honestly, I've had that lesson, but it was reinstated.
Yeah. It always seems to happen around these live tournaments, right? It happened, I feel like, at the World Grand Prix. You know, there were certain lists. I mean, on the first day, right, Kolcha was the only one running a particular list with the forest list, and then just being more aggressive in general compared to everybody running like Prince of Darkness stuff.
Yeah.
And he just crushed it.
You just have to know what you're doing sometimes. Let's see. Another good lesson is when somebody offers you free food, such as Side Games did for our last party, take it. Take it, because it's good. It's good. Yeah, those are some good lessons.
Tell me about your lessons in French.
Okay, so bonjour.
Bonjour. Yeah.
S'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît.
Bienvenue?
What's that?
I don't know. But you say it. So like here's the thing, when I listen to new languages, I don't really necessarily understand what they mean. I just know in context how to use them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like somebody says something to you, you have a response, and then they understand what you're saying, but you're just like, I'm just passable.
Yeah.
I kind of I can feel my way around.
How do you ask for water?
God, no. No idea. No idea.
Where's the toilet?
Nope.
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 Okay.
I know we.
Seem like critical.
I know we.
I know we.
On. Yeah. We. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Anyway, okay, let's stop talking about random stuff. Let's get into our interview. We said we were talking to somebody from Mana Surge. With us today, we have Sunfire X.
My favorite. It's Sunfire.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Hello, XO. I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing great.
You know, I am all of a sudden very upset because this boy over here, you got a suit and tie.
That's right. You're showing us up, Sunfire. I like it. You showed up for the interview. You know what? That's all good. So Mana Surge, my friend. Mana Surge, I know, has been under a lot of reconstruction over the last year. Talk to us about who is in charge of Mana Surge. Talk about anything that you want to talk about as far as the Flux is concerned and how it's managed, and anything you want to kind of get out there about Mana Surge in general.
Yeah, okay. So Mana Surge was founded by Bjorn in February 20th, 2014. The team was primarily a Hearthstone based for about 3-ish years. The Shadowverse side was originally a smaller group of playtesters that went by the name Fulminata. When Mana Surge sought to expand, we merged with them, forming the Shadowverse division as it stands today. Nowadays, the Shadowverse division is run by Yavaris and I, with Bjorn at the helm. We're one of the oldest and the most accomplished teams in the West, having many top place finishers around the world, some of which include winning NGE 3 seasons in a row with multiple high place finishers, like today, and 3rd place at the Shadowverse World Grand Prix.
That's right.
Very good.
The World Grand Prix run through Jay-Z was representing Mana
Absolutely.
Surge through his
Yes,
dominating
indeed.
tear.
That's right. Part of the reconstruction lately.
Yeah.
Jay-Z.
Hey, what do you
Unfortunately.
think? Mana Surge is probably the previous most successful team, but now it's all about Disaster. I mean, what's going on, Sunfire? Am I a fan of Disaster or am I a fan of Mana Surge now?
Yeah, tell us why.
I mean, well, okay,
Yeah,
well,
get stunned.
Yeah. You know what? It's okay.
It's okay.
It's a hard one to answer.
Oh, of course,
It is.
of course.
It is a hard one to
We
answer.
and
Do you-
the Disaster are like friends, so you know
That's
it's kind
fair.
of
That's fair.
That's
That's fair. You guys
It's
tech
kind of
with
a
each
hard
other,
balance.
play test against each other.
That's a
There's
perfect.
camaraderie there.
It's perfect to be friends with your greatest enemies because then you can backstab them.
That's right. Just push him down the stairs.
Rainey's onto a good point.
Oh my God!
Perfect. So Sunfire, Mana Surge, talk to people about your requirements for joining, about your community in general, and how you look at new prospects, and then what new players can expect to gain by joining a team like Mana Surge.
Yeah, okay. While we're always looking for new talent, the bar for joining is always being set higher and higher. With that being said, we don't have any real requirements. So even if you're a fresh face in the scene, as long as you have the potential and a will to grow, we can cultivate you into that next Shadowverse Pro. For example, Jay-Z was a fairly fresh player when he joined, and he, like, by the end of his Mana Surge career, he was one of the most successful Shadowverse players in the West. You know, there's like a lot of you guys out there who hold that same sort of like raw, unrefined talent, and that's really what we're looking for. And if you have like a more creative inclination, we have many content roles that need to be filled. We'll give you the platform you need to truly express your creative talents and work with you to achieve those grand endeavors. As far as like what sort of support we provide our players, besides the obvious play testing and scrimming, we have a group of motivated players that work hard developing strategic lineups, optimizing existing decks, as well as crafting new meta-defining decks. We also have a plethora of in-house statistics, as well as an analysis. She's so genius, who provides us with great statistical analyses for our website. Apart from that, we also provide our players with a platform to develop their brand on their own and better their exposure and recognition, as well as impart life skills that they'd be able to take with them.
Ooh, I like that. Life skills on top of Shadowverse skills. So you guys are kind of like the melting pot, and then you shape players into just better people overall.
to help people better understand, when you join Mana Surge, right? Is it only really looking for people who are on the playing side of it, or are there things, I know Mana Surge has a website and a tier list that they do. Are there other opportunities if they're not necessarily a competitive player, but they still want to do cool stuff? What would those be if they exist?
Yeah, I mean, right off the top of my head, we're definitely looking for an editor. There's all sort of content roles, YouTube, Twitch, as like you said, the website. We're always looking for writers on there. But yeah, like even if it's not listed, you'd always send in an application, and you know, who knows, like maybe you'll be able to join the team.
I know that is, yeah. You're like, hey, I was thinking about doing something new for you guys. This is what I feel like I want to add, and then sometimes it just works out. Let's
go ahead and drop that URL. Where do they go to do any of this stuff?
Well, we have a special link for you guys today. It is manasurge.team/SVO. You can click that. It'll give you the tier list. It'll give you the Discord. It'll give you the application, and it'll give you the statistical analysis from She's So Genius.
Manasurge.team.SVO, is that correct?
Yeah.
Manasurge.team.SVO.
No. Manasurge.
Oh, no, it's slash.
Team /SVO.
Okay. Manasurge.team.
Yeah.
/
Yeah.
SVO.
There we go.
Can you tell me it again?
Manasurge.
Dot team /SVO.
/SVO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. There we go.
Okay.
We got it all down.
If people want to participate in Managed Surge events, are those things that they can do? Are there Managed Surge events?
Sort of. We're a competitive organization first and foremost, and while it's true, we do have members that do organize tournaments, such as Durzello. He posts for fun tournaments. It has done so without our full endorsement, but I mean, we do help them out and, you know, get them in contact with people that they need to be in contact with. But it's not Manasurge itself doing the events.
I love the idea of Durzello just being like, I don't care what you guys say.
I'm doing it anyway. Support or not.
Screw you.
All right, Sunfire. Any shout-outs, anything else you want to say to the community at large? This is kind of your platform. Do with it what you will.
Well, I mean, we always love you guys. We're always giving back to the community. We appreciate all of your support with the tier list over the past 6 months that we've been doing it. And you know, if you would like to follow myself, you can do so at twitch.tv/SaveTheSunfire, spelled F1R3. And yeah, that's basically everything.
Well, great having you, Sunfire. You're very well poised, very well dressed. It was a pleasure having you on today.
The only thing you need to do is defeat Disastra.
Yeah, that's it.
Because currently, I'm still a fan of Disastra. I'm still a fan. You got to change my mind, you know?
What? That's so rude. So rude, Rainy. You know what? Manasurge is the best, Sunfire. Again, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself on the show today. Look forward to hearing more from Manasurge in the future, and I'm sure you guys will topple the giant that is Disastra right now.
All right. Well, we will continue with our tournament. And it is very interesting. I mean, Manasurge has been around for a long time, even before the Shadowverse Open was really a thing, right?
They were the big name when competitive Shadowverse happened, and honestly, it wasn't until much later that Disastra even had a thing going for it, right? It
they
basically
were around for a while, and they kind of, you know.
So Disastra actually formed from the breaking apart of a different team, an older team, but we won't get into that. And they kind of just formed with a bunch of friends who liked to play the game together. They started testing together, and now it's just this force.
They got more and more intense. They escalated their preparation, and now they're just seeing the benefits of all of that. So we'll see if Manasurge can really catch up to that. Sprayquaza is making a good case for it. So we'll see if he can make things make ends meet. But
absolutely,
so far it's all about Trickster.
Absolutely.
So with that, let's kind of get back into the swing of things for the Shadowverse Open.
First, before we get back to the Shadowverse Open, I like to have a little fun. Okay, giveaways happen all the time, guys. Exclamation point giveaway in the chat, and see how you can earn free packs, 3 free card packs, as a matter of fact. At the end of every broadcast, we give those away. So make sure you're in tune for that. And sometimes we do trivia questions. I'm not sure which days we do them, but there might be trivia questions you can answer for some extra packs as well. But yeah, now we can get back to the tournament.
Yeah. Now we're ready to go.
Now we're ready.
You're done?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done talking about stuff.
Give my packs away to people?
Yeah.
God, you know,
these are all Rady's personal packs.
He actually just steals them out of my account.
Yeah,
and just gives it to you
exactly
guys.
how I do it.
Well, better used on people who actually can play the game well, right?
Yes.
So that sounds about right to me. We have Gengar and Jenga Jam, which means that Fantasy was eliminated by Jenga Jam. And so Jenga Jam, as the unsigned player, is going to continue his journey through the bracket, his or her journey. And then Spray Quaz is waiting in losers finals. And of course, Trickster, as we talked about, is just chilling.
He's ready to get back up there into the finals. I mean, we've seen it a lot where the person who loses in the winners final kind of just makes it right back up. But again, you have to fight for it. You have to earn that spot. But getting into this match, we've got Aggro Forest, Artifact Portal, and is that Aggro Sword?
Aggro Sword got banned.
I like it. So a more aggressive lineup, basically targeting all the slower decks right now, which I really like. And Gengar, of course, we know he's playing his Spell Boost deck that did get through this time. Didn't want to play against another aggro deck, which I can completely respect from Jenga Jam. Play your slow deck. Let me play my aggro decks. And yeah, I like this lineup. This is the first player that we've seen actually bring an all aggro lineup. Portalcraft isn't necessarily aggro, but it can still play against the same decks that aggro decks are good against.
Aggro is not often talked about in recent times just because it's been a deck that has fallen out of favor in many ways, or an archetype that has fallen out of favor in many ways. But if there's any aggro deck that you play, it's probably going to be Aggro Forest.
That's absolutely
right. What are the key cards in Aggro Forest that allow it to close out games? What pushes the ball forward for this deck? 1-drops,
Elf Song, Hyperia, and then sometimes Fairy Driver. So essentially, you're just trying to get the best curve you possibly can into, I mean, if you could do multiple Elf Songs, you know, more power to you. Have fun with it. You know, laugh at your opponent, emote them until they're dead. But Elf Song on top of a good board. Of course, Wood of Brambles just to solidify the board, and then you want to end the game with Hyperia and Fairy Driver. Ariana has been seeing some play. She's drifted in number from 3 to 1 to 2 to whatever over time. But I think Ariana, it's just too hard right now to make sure you have a board for her to work. But I still like her as an option just because she can add another removal option to your hand.
Yeah, and the burn, is valuable.
Of course.
Sometimes. I think you're right. To me, the deck is kind of split out into two important pieces, right? There's the pieces that actually push the ball forward and do the damage, and there's the things that kind of support it, right? So when we talk about kind of maintaining cards on board, that comes through things like Wood of Brambles and, you know, things like Rain Elf Smith and then Airbound Barrage, right? These are the pieces that allow for us to continue to put these 1/1s turn after turn after turn on the board, which eventually swing into chip, and then
you just finish.
Yeah, amplifying the damage through things like Elf Song, and then as we saw the Hyperia Beetle Warrior combo today. That's one of the ways that it can get its win.
It's great. It's great. But this is not the only deck that we're going to be featuring in this matchup. Gengar's Spell Boost Runecraft list. This is an awesome deck. It looks like there are some interesting tech choices in here. He's got 3 Nova Flares. He says, those little boys, I'm killing them. I'm killing them all. Those little fairies, you know what I mean? I guess those are tiny women, not boys. And then Swordcraft finishes off good boards from them. Finishes off Portalcraft boards. Finishes off pretty much anything that you want to deal with early in the game. And honestly, you have to be focused on board wiping plays, board-centric plays in this format, because it's what it's all about. Did go up in Silent Laboratories and down in Moon and Sun. I've seen a lot of Spell Boost Runecraft lists running more Moon and Suns and maybe no Silent Laboratories, and only 2 Golem Assaults, which is very interesting if you're trying to make sure that you don't just get rolled over by aggro, but I guess the 3 Nova Flares are there to back that up.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting list. How do you feel about the consistency of Spell Boost Rune?
I think it's very consistent, except against aggro. Against aggro, you have to have a perfect draw.
Yeah.
You can beat it, but against most of the format that's mid-range, it's just like Ginger Runecraft. How often does Ginger Runecraft live until turn 9? High percentage point, or a high percentage amount of the time. The difference is it doesn't need to just get to turn 9. It can get you to it can get you on turn 6, on turn 7, and then on turn 9. It has a lot more flexibility than Ginger Runecraft, and I feel like it even wins that matchup in general because it can win before turn 9.
Yeah.
So I think Spell Boost Runecraft is a slightly bit better than Ginger Runecraft. Some players agree with me, a lot of players don't. So it really is just your flavor, but its consistency is on point. It's got plenty of card draw. And that's really all you need to make sure that your draws smooth out over time.
Okay. Well, we'll see Spell Boost Rune in action. Could be just even the first match of the day today. And this is obviously going to be the best indication of whether this deck is viable or not. So if Gengar wins it, So 100% it's the best deck to play.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's off the back of Bottles telling him it's the deck to play. You know, they're teammates. Bottles just came off the back of doing really well with it at DreamHack, and he actually built his entire lineup around it. So I imagine very similarly, Gengar was like, okay, if I'm gonna play this deck, how then do I have to do the rest of my matchups or line up the rest of my matchups? And that's probably why his lineup is the way it is with Aggro Forest Craft and things like that. He wants to beat Ginger Runecraft. He does not want to be Ginger Runecraft, and it looks like his decks are set up to do that.
Okay, well, Gengar versus Jenga Jam. Is Jenga Jam going to continue on his journey to ruin teams' dreams?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, he's got the lineup to do it, right? He's got very aggressive line. Unfortunately for him, there aren't really 3 aggressive decks. I guess maybe Bad or Vengeance Blood could be an aggressive deck that you can throw in there, but it's probably not consistent enough to work with the rest of your lineup. But Jenga Jam, I feel like, has a real chance here. He's got good decks. Aggro Forest, we've seen Slaughter, and Portalcraft, we know, can just beat out Swordcraft almost every single time, if not every time.
How do we think Jenga Jam got his name, Jenga Jam?
So I was actually thinking about this the first time I saw his name. If there was a jam, and it was made of Jenga, what would that be like? You know what I mean?
I suppose you would have to take the wood blocks and try to squeeze the sap out of them.
Right? Or maybe it's just filled with all of the shriek yells of people as they lost at Jenga, and you devour it.
The blood of all the ones that are defeated.
Yeah.
I thought Jenga Jam was like a Jenga party. Like you're jamming out and you're playing Jenga.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, Jenga Jam.
Yeah.
Let's all get to the Jenga Jam.
The Jenga Jam. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, maybe we'll ask. Maybe we'll ask the one and only someday.
Yeah, I had the evil response. You had like the more party-friendly response.
Yeah.
Eating their fears and desires, you know. But no. It's just a party where people, you know, listen to music and play Jenga.
I would assume that Jenga Jam would play things like Bloodcraft if that was the case.
That's true. That's true. He plays party-friendly decks.
Yeah.
Forestcraft, Swordcraft, Spell Booster, and they're all friends. Yeah, they all work with each other. Yeah.
The friendly crafts.
Magic Owl's like, hey buddies, come on down. You know what I mean? And then Swordcraft's like, Arthur, we to party. And then Forestcraft, what if Brambles and Fairy Whisper? That's not really like calling everybody out to the party. That's more just like, hey, come here.
Oh man, I have no idea what any of this means, but
Fairy Whisperer, man.
Yeah, whispering, got that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, this matchup is going to be a tough one.
Okay.
All right. So Gengar basically just has to live. I feel like if Gengar can get to turn 6, turn 7 without being immediately dead, he'll be okay.
This will be tough. This could be really tough.
No early removal.
You've got Whisper, Insect Lord,
my
and you're going second, so you're going to hit the first evolution turn. Oh, and 2 Beetle Warriors. There is some pressure coming from Jenga Jam right now.
Absolutely. And still nothing but card draw for Gengar to do right now. Okay. Some light at the end. Okay. All right. Here we go. That's what they're there for.
Feeling pretty good about that.
Gengar's like, please play out your entire hand, Jenga Jam. Jenga Jam says, no way. I know you're playing 3 Nova Flares. Not a chance, buddy.
That's a good choice there. Typically, you would want to use the buffed effect on the Beetle Warriors, but he knows, hey, these stats are going to be... And there we see. He reaps the benefit already.
Absolutely. That was a great play.
That was real cool.
Now he gets to evolve for face. And he gets to play out his hand. I mean, I would probably take the risk that the second Nova Flare is not there because you can't really play around it that much.
The longer you wait, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
You just have to go now. I think he already did the best possible choice he could have in playing the Beetle Warrior on the turn that he did.
But now just, get it out there. You need to run the damage in because you have to expect that Gengar's going to do something like Magic Owl Chimera, which is going to take out 2 of your followers.
Yeah.
So you need to fill up the board, but
interesting.
He's not going with that option. I don't like that play.
Yeah. Yeah. Means he probably... This is a difference of maybe 1 or 2 points of damage, I would assume. Maybe from like 1 or 2 fairies that could have been put down.
Exactly what it is. We'll see if the 2 damage ends up mattering.
Yeah,
2 followers a lot easier to deal with than 1, 2, 3, 4 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more targets for things like airbound barrages.
Yep.
There's a lot that you could have done on that. So, I mean, I guess maybe the question is, will the Spell Bomb become worth it? Right, because that was, I guess, the trade.
Right, that was the trade. I think it was also just another hedge against a Nova Flare. When you're going into an Evo turn against the Spell Boost Runecraft deck, I mean, they have Wind Blast, they have Chimeras, they have all these things that can take out multiple followers. You need to go as wide as possible.
Yeah. They spend a Nova Flare, they spend a Nova Flare.
That's right. And now he's left in an uncomfortable situation. This could be a Beetle Warrior turn. I like the Spell Bomb, though. Get rid of the enemy follower.
Yeah. His Chimeras are already down to 3 play points, and 5 on the last one. So, and he has 2 spells to play here. So I think the swing turn for Gengar is coming up very, very, very soon.
Yep.
And Jega Jam seems a little bit far away. I don't see a Fairy Driver. The Beetle Warrior will be pretty good, but that's about it. The gas is running out.
Like I said, about turn 6 or turn 7, if Gengar's still alive, he has a real shot in this game. I mean, it didn't look so good.
Oh, did he just do Doom?
No way. No, that's not Doom.
I can't see.
There's no way that's Doom.
Okay, it's not.
No chance.
Yeah.
But if you get to a stage like this and you get to play multiple Chimeras and Flame Destroyers against Aggro Forest, they're not taking those followers down.
Yeah.
Literally impossible.
Very, very unlikely.
That's like, again, it's like a Ginger Runecraft deck, but it does it just a little bit quicker.
Yep. I mean, I would assume this would be some kind of Insect Lord turn, but maybe you want to just evolve the Beetle Warrior to try to get into a world where you can Fairy Driver and win.
I think that's the only play you can make, honestly. You're a little bit too late, so I think...
If you Fairy down Airbound Barrage, Beetle Warrior evolve.
Yeah, I don't think you need to Airbound Barrage. It's not going to do anything. He's not going with the Beetle Warrior plan, though. I think this is too slow.
Okay.
This is too slow. This is not giving him an opportunity to win over the course of 2 turns. Get your opponent to 6, possibly draw the Fairy Driver, and just immediately win.
Yeah, Gengar knows. Gengar knows. He just gave us the... Wow! Gengar is developing his ceremony now. He's going down the path of Akamaru Red. God, look at how cheap the followers are.
Yeah, and now Magic Missiles as well, just to back up. I mean...
This is insane.
This is insane. Probably doesn't even need to go that route, though. Yeah, face damage. I don't even care about your fairies, bruh. I got 3 Chimeras.
He's
and they're
got
all
5 followers at 0 cost. All 4 4s and 7 7s.
Yeah. Like I said, Ginger on turn 7. Not turn 9. Don't gotta wait.
No.
If Jenga Jam, right now, top decks Fairy Driver, I'm going to be very sad for him.
Because he could have won if he played the Beetle Warrior turn.
He still has 2 Evolution Orbs left.
Yeah.
As the aggro deck.
Oh.
There it is! Oh, my God! All right. Well, I didn't mean to spoil the mood like that, I suppose.
That was literally the win.
That was the win. That was the win.
Wow.
And it's interesting, too, because I would expect an aggro deck, especially a pilot who's comfortable enough to play it in a field like this, especially against a slow deck, doesn't see the line where you use the most Evolution Orbs, you get the most face damage in over time.
Wow.
Now, this doesn't mean that he necessarily loses in a single turn, right? Let's see.
So he's trying his best. He's trying to stave off lethal for at least 1 more turn, right?
He's got to kill one of the Chimeras here.
Oh, no.
Make yourself useful.
Gets to keep some of the board, but he's staring down at what? 14, 18 damage, 1 magic missile. Oh, he's got the Mysterium Missile in hand. We already know that from last turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he knows the game's over.
Make yourself useful.
No. No. No.
Yeah, no is absolutely correct. Gengar doing the BM play everything before the win.
Yeah.
Unless he doesn't see it. Okay.
There's no way.
All right.
There's no way.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this? I don't know what that is. Oh, it's his phone. Is he texting people? He's like, hey, I just won everybody. That's his group text.
Wow, Gengar. He's just feeling, I think it's his attire.
It is. I mean, hey, Sunfire came out with a suit.
Yeah.
Did very well in an interview.
Yeah.
You got Gengar coming out with a suit. Looking like it's easy.
Dress for success.
Beating aggro with Giant Chimera Runecraft, and I feel like that is a massive win for him.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a world where Jenga Jam could have gone away.
We saw it.
You know?
We saw it. We saw the win. And he just did not go down that path. I don't know what his thought process was to stop and try to build up a big board as opposed to just dealing damage, especially going into turn 7. Turn 7 is usually their tipping point. But, you know, sometimes it's whatever thought, you know, is just carrying you through. Like, I've played this matchup before. I feel like this is my best outlet to victory because they can't clear off this many followers. But, yeah, just didn't work out for him that game.
Okay, try number 2, but this time against Swordcraft. We'll see.
That's right. This is another important match. So if Jenga Jam wins this, has a very high chance of winning the match.
Yeah,
because
Portal into Sword.
Yeah.
Ooh. Double Goblin Imperia.
Who gets to go first here? Okay, Jenga Jam is on the play as well. That's what you want to be as an aggro deck always.
Yep.
The curve isn't looking too spicy just yet.
Yeah. The fact that he's ahead on curve being support cannon doesn't have the opportunity to remove Imperia.
Yeah. And I really don't like the Goblin play here. I would have much rather liked to see him save that for turn 3 to take down a 2-drop. And I think he's going to get punished here unless he top decks a 1-drop.
There's no way. He's already gotten 2 of his goblins out, right?
I mean, there's 6 total, right? There's water fairies as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've done this.
I guess it's not that big of a deal, but you lose some resources when you have a bad draw.
He would basically be in the same spot, but he would have 3 followers on board, right?
Right. Exactly right. And now he's got to deal with this Mars that he can't. Dun, dun, dun. Well,
I guess he could.
You just have to ignore it, right?
Yeah.
Buzzing.
Wow. Okay, he offers him up.
I mean, this is a good strategy. Put as much onto the board as you possibly can. Eke out that 1 extra damage. Then you can start playing your Hyperias, and hopefully those will be good enough. However, support cannon can deal with Hyperias.
Yeah. Yeah. He basically only has 1 turn where the Hyperia can avoid.
That's right. That's next turn. And he's going to have a chance to play the support cannon, too, because it's not like he can answer the Hyperia without it anyway.
Yeah. Oh my god, and this Bladed Hedgehog. I mean, that choice to evolve it and swing it in is just...
That is a huge Bladed Hedgehog. I don't even know what Jenga Jam needs to win here.
This is taking a turn for the worst.
This is crazy. I mean, if he plays the Hyperia and just passes, I mean, now Gengar has the aggressive stance, right? He can attack for all the way up to 11 damage and just make it a 2-turn game. And there's no way Jenga Jam is going to be able to win in 2 turns after playing an Hyperia here.
You have, what, 9 if you evolve, and then the Celia will hit for another 4, right?
No, if you evolve, you have 11 already in play.
Well, you have 7, 2, 9. Oh, right, 11. So you actually go up to 15.
Yeah.
Damages next turn.
I mean, he almost has to trade here, right? How does he win by passing with his Hedgehog being a 7-5? Okay.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Now
I feel like that shuts the door for Aggro Forest.
Yeah. When you have to trade an Evo, an Hyperia, into your opponent's Hedgehog, I can't feel good. So did not go with the support cannon. I would have much rather liked to see the support cannon here, but I think Gengar already feels like he's ahead. Yeah. He just wants to push the advantage. Another way to beat aggro is to become the aggressive player and make them react to everything, which is what Gengar's doing. Can't fault the strategy at all.
Yeah. Some different avenues to find the same success.
Absolutely. And now, yeah, Jenga Jam is in quite the jam.
Yeah.
Not the party type of jam, but the actual jam type this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The jam made of wood.
Oh, no. Oh, nothing feels good. Everything sucks.
Yeah, I feel like, unfortunately for Jenga Jam, as soon as he got into this thing, you know, he made it past the first losers finals or losers quarters.
I would assume Luminous Mage and evolve the Knight.
But I don't think he's getting through this one.
Oh man, when Swordcraft gets on its game, it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah, all of these have Mars buff too. That Mars has been in play all game.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, there's just, I mean,
There's literally nothing.
There's nothing off the top that would ever change this scenario.
That's the one thing with aggro decks. Once you're behind it or against the wall, there's not really a way to come back.
Yeah. Okay, the Insect Lord slows things down by 1 turn.
Oh, but
I mean, not really.
We've got 7 in play already.
Yeah. Gengar is going to leave this series with the 2-0 and says, Jenga Jam, stop.
Get out of here. Aggro Forest? Not today,
Yeah.
son.
This is my time to shine. So Gengar moves on. He's going to move on.
The suit's too classy, man.
Yeah.
It's too classy.
Yeah.
If you try to get aggressive into a businessman, he's just gonna coolly and calmly and collectively tell you, back off, stranger.
Back off.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, Gengar just showing off, right? So like Spell Boost Runecraft beating Aggro Forestcraft, awesome feat. I mean, he had probably the best turn 7 I've seen in Spell Boost Runecraft. I mean, he's all 3 Chimeras and 2 Flame Destroyers all in the same turn. Like, okay, deal with that.
Buddy.
Yeah, deal with that. I mean, any deck try to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, you play Arthur and you're like, haha, I have Arthur, and they're like, Chimera, 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 Flame Destroyer, Flame Destroyer. You're like, what? What?
Why is this happening?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do about this? But yeah, Gengar's gonna move on. And you know what? Again, we talked about him at the beginning of the tournament. This is one of the players that we really want to see do well in this tournament. He's a player that's earned it time and time again. Yeah. We just want to see him get to that final stage and make it happen.
Nearly there. Nearly there. So, what that means is we now see Gengar having to face off, if I remember the bracket correctly, against Sprayquaza now. All right, I believe it's Sprayquaza versus Gengar, and then whoever wins that versus Trickster. Correct. Is how the tournament's going to be playing out. So CVV is not going to team kill itself. It's about Dawnbreakers versus Masters versus CVV, with Dawnbreakers being in the lead.
That's right.
It's interesting. I feel like Dawnbreakers as a team is pretty good. You know,
they have spiky players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
they don't do well all the time, but every once in a while you see that Dawnbreakers player just like crush everyone. Like they just win. Like Dawnbreakers actually wins the tournaments, right? Yeah. Which is very interesting from a team that has a small pool of people to base their strategies around and to work with, but they seem to make it work.
Yeah. Really happy for Trickster, looking for him to make a tournament win for himself, especially after he played so well all last season. So we'll see if that ends up panning out the way we think it will.
That's right. And if you guys want to get involved in future seasons, if you didn't get a chance to play in this Open or community events as a whole, go to battlefy.com/Shadowverse or use the search on battlefy.com and just type in Shadowverse. You can see all the community events there. You can see all of the events for the Shadowverse Open on there. Basically everything Shadowverse related. Even DreamHack was on Battlefy, so if you guys want to get comfortable with playing in competitive Shadowverse, battlefy.com is the tournament. What would you call that? Tournament organization software?
Bracket system.
Bracket system that you use? Yeah, so it's the universal system for Shadowverse, so get used to it. That's where to go.
And definitely get involved in the competitive scene, because there's fun stuff happening, like DreamHacks. We just had one that happened, as well as kind of the World Grand Prix at the end of the year, opportunities to travel to Japan.
Yep.
You know? There's so many things that are on the way in coming. So get involved with competitive Shadowverse, because there's a lot of opportunity.
It's a great year. This has not only been the best year for Shadowverse, but just like the most exciting things that are happening, like the DreamHack that just happened. First of all, if you guys haven't had a chance to get around a group of other competitive players in any game that you've played before, this community is awesome. Everybody's like, I don't know if you've been watching all the interviews we've done all this season. Everybody's super helpful. They're all community driven. They're all about helping the players get better. In the case of Mana Surge, even making them better at life lessons and coaching and things like that. So I mean, it's all good, super friendly. When I went out there, met them, I had a blast. And you know, it's happening again in Montreal. It's happening again in Singapore. I think Singapore is the next one before Montreal. It's happening at the World Grand Prix. There's a lot of things happening this year. There's even the Contenders Cup, where we're doing in person this year. You know what I mean? So it's all community driven, and getting out there and seeing all of your friends is a great time.
Absolutely. So make sure you stay tuned and get involved.
That's right. So let's hop into our next match, guys. We've got, of course, Gengar and Sprayquaza and Rainy. I'm going to let you do the matchup breakdown this time. What are we feeling?
Well, here's how it do.
Okay.
There's a cannon, and you play cards, and the cannon just starts firing at people, and then you win.
Okay.
On the other hand, you have things like robots coming to, have you ever watched the movie Terminator?
Oh, yeah.
And it's Artifact Portal. It's literally just, there's a few people, and then these robots just start coming in.
Okay.
And no matter how many robots you defeat, there's just more on the horizon.
So you just can't stop them.
Yeah, you can't stop it.
Okay.
And that's on the end of Rayquaza. But then also you have these mystical, like, three-headed chimera beasts that are coming in, and just, like, for some reason they have laser guns, and they're just destroying followers on the other end.
It'd be pretty scary, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, three-headed beasts with laser guns. They have their fangs and their claws, and they just put out a laser gun at you.
They're like, sup, buddy, this is all just a disguise. Laser
Yeah.
guns.
And then on Sprayquaza's side, he has a little box of sand that he plays, and then suddenly the sand starts burning your eyes and stuff, and they get into your underpants, and you're just like, I don't even want to compete anymore. That's how Earthright works. So that's the matchup breakdown.
Sick. Sick matchup analysis. That was probably the best matchup analysis I've ever heard. So basically what you're saying is every deck's going to win.
Every deck's going to win,
and
nobody's going to be happy about it.
Nobody's going to be happy about it.
They're just all like sand in their pants and stuff, just not happy.
Yeah, like when you go to the beach and have a bad time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. So,
More realistically,
I think that the dirt rune craft, however you want to call it, I think it is the slight edge in this matchup.
it's definitely the key defining feature that's going to change the matchup.
Right. So it really just depends on how the matchup plays out. What decks get picked first. So like if, for instance, Spell Boost Runecraft gets picked first, you could be opening yourself up wide against that Earthright rune deck, right? Like you just might not want to be able to have that matchup. So maybe you put the Swordcraft deck first. And then you open up the possibility that the Artifact Portal deck gets picked first. So I feel like if Sprayquaza can get in the mind of Gengar right now, he can give himself a huge edge in this matchup.
The question to answer, and if the answer is not sure, then it's just totally up in the air, right? Is there any of your two decks, do you feel like Artifact and Earthright have a good matchup against Spell Boost? Do you feel like Artifact and Earthright have a good matchup against Sword? And if there is any deck that the two of them you feel pretty confident is able to beat, then you play the deck that doesn't counter the other one, right?
So I would say I would probably play Portalcraft if I was a Sprayquaza. I'd probably play that
Portal.
first. Yep.
Wow, look at you.
Sometimes I know some things, okay?
Yeah.
50% of the time I know 20% of stuff, okay?
So does that mean you know stuff 10% of the time if you add up all the percentages?
I know 10% of things 150% of the time.
What?
Math. Learn it. All right. Anyway, so I think this is a great draw from Sprayquaza, much better than we've seen before. He's got he's got a 2-drop into a 3-drop first of all, and he's got a generator into a pull, and he's also got the Biofabrication to relay tempo. This is exactly what you need to do against a deck like Ginger Rune, just so you can get ahead.
Yes.
However, 3 Nova Flares, that's an interesting tech that really flips this matchup on its head.
Blinded by the light.
That's right. There's a lot of people on ladder that don't play Nova Flares at all. This is 3.
Yeah.
3.
And I think some of that is thinking about tournament play, right? Gengar, as a tournament veteran, knows that there are sometimes differences that are very worth it to make for your deck submissions within a particular tournament.
Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time, right? When you're playing in competitive tournaments, it is very different than when you're playing on the ladder. You need to have very specific tech cards, very specific strategies to beat decks. You just need to know what you're doing, and sometimes that means changing up regular meta decks to fit that role.
Yeah. Gets himself into a turn where he can mirror him into more analyzing artifacts and then copy those analyzing artifacts. Well, if he so chooses.
Resonance will be turned off.
Oh, because he did laser the analyzing. That's right. Yep.
That's right.
Oh, he's flooded. I like it.
Yeah, this is what you do. Flood as best you can. Evo one of your draw cards. Oh, no.
Oh.
Okay. All right. I like this.
I'm a specialist.
So he's taking the super aggro role, which I definitely can't fault him for.
Yeah. And he's definitely trying to build the tempo to do that, right?
Actually, this is the best way to play around Nova Flare yet again.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
Sprayquaza. Thinking at the speed of light.
Everybody playing against that card very well right now.
Ooh, Mysterious Circle.
Yeah. I think he's just going to use the Nova Flare and clear board here. Use the evolution as well.
Yeah.
Just doesn't want to take any damage.
Yeah. stop. But that gives a lot of card draw to the side of Sprayquaza. And I think he's just happy, right? Install more artifacts, maybe pull more artifacts out.
I'm a genius.
That's definitely happening.
This is kind of the new school Portalcraft, right? Where you kind of aren't super worried about clogging up your deck because there's so many artifact drawers and, you know, that you can kind of survive in this world a bit.
I find it very interesting that Sprayquaza chose to play the Icarus first. He got lucky and still got the Analyzing Artifact. Maybe he was trying to get an Ancient for a 3-1 instead of a 2-1 with no card draw. I mean, that
trying to go more aggro.
That could have been the choice. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Second Nova Flare drawn here for Gengar. How amazing are these cards paying off for him today? You know what I mean? Like, unreal. Doesn't even feel like he needs to use it. Feels comfortable enough to just hold.
Installs a rune, and remember, we are looking at Spell Boost rune. So a lot of it is looking for the cards that you can Spell Boost and just pushing that forward. And I think Sprayquaza very smartly taking this aggro game plan is going to help against perhaps a Giant Chimera that Sprayquaza is assuming is likely to come within the first few turns, and we know that Gengar has had it for a while now.
That's right. One of the major benefits to Portalcraft is A, they can stop the turn 7 play, much like they can stop the turn 9 play of Ginger Runecraft. It's a lot harder because it happens faster, but they can deal with it. The other thing is they can keep filling up the board turn after turn, which makes Chimera that much harder to actually stick and have lethal.
2 of them. All right, Nova Flares for days.
And no Deus Ex for Sprayquaza. Had a really nice start, but 2 Nova Flares, and he's back on the ground floor of doing nothing.
No more Evolution Orbs for Gengar.
I think this is just a Saphira Evolve face and pray that your opponent doesn't have a Fiery Embrace.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm actually flying.
Like
okay, at this point you are now, without any more artifact pullers, you are doubling down on I may never pull anything relevant ever again.
Yep, you know what? This is probably a better line now that I think about it. You've already seen 2 Nova Flares. You haven't seen any Fiery Embraces.
Yeah.
So play wide first. But now you have no evolution for Saphira, which means it's now a turn 10 play if you want to get damage out of it.
Yeah.
It's a long ways away.
I mean, there's a lot that I think is making this game difficult for Sprayquaza. Remember, this, guys, is the loser's finals. Whoever wins this has the opportunity to take first place in the tournament. I think this is especially relevant for a player like Sprayquaza, who we did not see on the leaderboard then. This first place finish could be the difference between him making it into the regional finals and not.
He might have enough points.
Yeah.
From this finish alone, even if he loses, that he could get there. Could be.
Absolutely could be. Okay. I wonder how many boosts the Giant Chimera has on it. The closest one.
So it got drawn in the middle turns. So I want to say 9.
You're going to go with 9?
I'm going to go with 9.
Okay.
Now 10.
Okay.
I'm going to make up a random number and go with it. So we're at 10 right now.
We're at 10.
Yep.
Okay. Just so that I can say I beat you in case it happens, I'm going to say it's at 9.
You're going to say
No,
1
it's at
behind
10.
me?
Yeah, one
okay.
behind you.
All right. I like it. We're keeping it close though.
Yeah.
We're not going too far away.
For all the world.
All right, Moon and Sun now played, so more spell boosting every single turn, plus possibility for some defense gain.
Acceleratium. Yeah, give it to him.
I'm shivering. I'll rise again.
Oh boy. I wouldn't play that out.
I think you just have to go for it, right? Just play out the hand. Hope it's good enough.
Yeah, I suppose there's no downside because you're only falling behind here.
Your opponent's
Giant
already played now
Chimera's
2 Nova Flares.
Yep.
They have the 3rd one. I think you just whenever you're playing a matchup like this and your opponent has the 3 cards that are best against your deck, you kind of just, you know, you're like,
best strategy.
all right.
The best strategy is to buy a second phone so that you can break your phone in half.
All right, so small
how much was
Chimera. Small Chimera down. I think that was 8.
He did like a 1-1-1-2 and then 6 to face at the end of it.
Yeah.
So he was over.
Okay.
He was like maybe 12 or 13, so you were probably closer.
Well, we'll say the second one's even scarier, and it doesn't have a lot of defense to chew through here.
Yeah, he probably played the smaller one.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
I think next turn you just play another Chimera and attack face. That sounds pretty good. I don't know if it's lethal, though.
I think Gengar is doing the math right now. It says, okay, 5 + 1, 6, 16.
Oh, yeah,
so
plenty.
it was way higher. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, and Spell Boost Runecraft claims another victim, and you know what? That lays some credence as to why some of the top competitors still choose Spell Boost Runecraft.
Yeah.
It's just good. If it
It's
can beat
very good.
aggro the same way it beats everything else, I mean,
Yeah.
the deck doesn't really have too many downsides.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it, right? If Spell Boost Rune wins, then that closes out the argument of, like, Spell Boost Rune is the best.
Well, check it out. Check it out, right?
Yeah.
We said he had a terrible draw in his aggro Forest Craft match.
Yeah.
Terrible, right? He had multiple Flame Destroyers, multiple Chimeras,
Yeah.
concentration,
Yeah.
and one other effect that he could cast early.
Yeah.
Easily won that game. Now, technically speaking, he maybe shouldn't have won that
Yeah.
game, but he did.
Yeah. It came down to a risk, right, for the Forestcraft player, and he happened to win that risk.
Yeah.
If he had chosen that line.
Right.
But that's still not a shutout, you know?
Stop. All right, so Gengar, nice on the curve hand here. He's got the Hedgehog into Double Rush, into Support Cannon.
Okay. The instant you think the game has shut the door, Exo, I want you to yell. Let me know when you think it is too late.
Like, as soon as I know when one player wins,
Yeah.
You
when
mean to
you
yell.
when you think Portalcraft runs away with it,
the second.
hit the red button. Yeah.
Okay, the red button?
Yeah.
What noise do I make?
Wee woo wee woo. You
All right,
know a
on
siren?
it. All right, you guys heard it. It's not my choice. Rainey has
Yeah.
now called out my my winning call.
Wee woo wee woo.
All right, we're in. We're locking it in. Put him on the spot. That's what he came up with. That's what we're gonna roll with. Wee woo wee woo. Writing it down right now, so don't forget.
All right. This hedgehog looks so adorable, but is incredibly dangerous. Look at it. Ah, 3-3.
Yeah, this is a
No
great
problem.
draw. This is a fantastic draw. Substitution will have to be used here. I guess not have to be.
It's a good choice because you're going to be able to take down both the hedgehog and the Chimera.
Plus, you save Evos.
But it was just
Yeah,
a game.
saving Evo is the name of the game.
So not as important in matchups like this, but like say for instance Sprayquaza just passed here and he just left the 1-1. A good reason to save your Evos and use something like Substitution is because you might want your opponent to use an Evo maybe to go face and like evolve that 1-1 into a 3-3, and then they use one of their evolves on not a defensive measure, and then you go wide on the turn after or something like that.
I like Sprayquaza's setup here against Support Cannon.
Absolutely. It's
just
the
trying
same
to get-
situation we saw before, right?
Yeah.
That four attack follower against it.
Eke out as much damage as you can before it comes down.
Now, without Deus Ex, Rayquaza might be in some trouble here.
Yeah?
Not too much. He's got a Hawk Robbie, has some gas. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Every time we say the card's name,
Yeah, it just shows up.
magically appears. We've been pretty good at that over the last
Yeah.
month. Like almost. I think we're like, if we did clips,
Yeah.
we're at like 80+%. We call out a specific card, like they're like, oh man, they really need this, or oh man, if they draw this, then
Yeah.
yeah. And we've been pretty good on that.
Yeah. It's been going well. Things have been going well. Are we at the red button yet?
Don't call me a fortune teller, but ask me what the lotto numbers are next week, and I might have a winner.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Burns with friends.
Fire, fire.
Totally burns.
It does burn to get hit by a support cannon.
All right, you ready for this, Rainey?
Yeah?
Wee woo, wee woo.
Wee woo, wee woo.
Yep.
Already?
Yep.
Is it because he made it to Deus Ex?
It's because he drew Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wee woo, wee woo.
I think it's almost impossible for Swordcraft to win.
Emergency. Danger. Gengar, get your act together. You have already lost.
That's right.
No.
I actually waited a little bit. It was too long. As soon as I said it, it's because I went into that whole thing about us
Yeah.
doing the call outs.
Yeah.
It was about the same time.
Basically when he drew the Deus Ex.
Basically as soon as you drew the Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Driven world must
Okay.
end.
This is going to be tough. Do you want to leave your residence on?
But it was just a game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Sprayquaza agrees. That's a pretty good hand. You've got Rush. You've got Fervent Machine. Ancient Artifact. Copies. You are happy.
because technically speaking, he had no way to guarantee Hakrabi full value the next turn.
Yeah.
Usually if I can pull 100% Hakrabi value, I'll usually keep the Hakrabis, but if you can't guarantee it, there's no reason.
Now, it's not like this. The Barbarossa is going to be able to hide from substitution here.
Now it shuts on Spray Quaza to up that artifact count.
It's all about Portalcraft trying to just remove everything on board constantly. The Portalcraft, I mean, the support cannon adds that extra dimension of the possibility of just taking face damage if you don't have anything left over.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
But
very hard for that situation to happen against Portalcraft. Portalcraft at a certain point will just fill up the board, clear your board every turn.
We already see that's going to happen here.
Yep.
The most bored dying sound ever.
Oh, yeah. I think it's interesting. So our players this week bringing back the Ironforged Fighter.
That's a cheap Barbarossa.
Ironforged Fighter hasn't been a card that's been in the deck for a while. Usually Iron Staff Mechanic and Cat Cannoneers kind of take up the cake, but I mean, playing it as a one-of is an interesting option if you really like the Radiant Artifacts. Again, Portalcraft is really just well-suited to whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
You can even put Prime Artifacts into your deck, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to be doing with Portalcraft, I mean, it's pretty accessible right now.
All right, Frontline Cavalier down.
Although Portalcraft is one of the only classes I would say don't net deck. Build Portalcraft the way you want to play it, figure out what options you like in it, and then kind of mold it to that. Because there's a ton of options you can play in the deck.
Digger is eating well, but I don't know if he's going to actually win the match. More Ironforged Fighters. He's got more rush still.
Yep.
Weapons, got you covered.
Ooh, ouch.
He likes that play. He likes that play a lot.
Forgive me.
Grabbing the Radiance here.
I assume you play the Cat Cannoneer here?
Why would he have played the Fervent Machine Soldier if he wasn't going to use the Radiant? That's very weird to me.
Hey, blasters aren't cheap, man.
Like, you know you just put 2 Radiants in.
Yeah, you're probably going to grab it.
You know there's a chance at least. Then you just throw the Radiant away? What was the point of putting him in your deck?
Oh, he can cancel out his draw? Oh, no. Actually, yep, bye.
Very interesting play to me.
Okay.
You and I, Knight. My fire brings hope. Fire, fire!
Oh. Well.
And over the top. Doesn't even want to leave him with anything, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to clear your opponent's board.
He's going to get 5 here.
Yeah, this is a huge chunk.
Yeah.
That's a huge chunk. I really think Spray Quaza is doing his best to try to lose a game he had in the bag. I mean, he still has a good chance to win this game.
Yeah.
But every time he slows down and doesn't just like use all of his play points and get the most value out of them, fill up the board, I feel like he's just losing percentage points against this support cannon.
I don't know if there's a way to do this. He has to use a substitute where he would have ideally liked to use that on the Barbarossa because that's really the biggest danger to him right now.
I know it is.
On a musical journey.
And like this, I don't know. This to me, guys, and this again is personal preference. This in no way is an endorsement to not play this card. This is why I do not like putting Radiant Artifacts in Portalcraft because they're just too expensive.
They're very clunky. They're very clunky, and the difference of those play points, I mean, if it's expensive but it's not enough to use your entire set of play points, then there's a world where as long as you have one, you can play artifacts and gain play points back or stay on that level where you can just keep playing the 1 play point artifacts, right?
That's true.
But that Radiant Artifact was at 5, at exactly 5 play points. It's just clunky.
It's just super clunky. It's super clunky. Ironforged Fighter is also super clunky. It's just a 4 play point 4/3 that doesn't do anything outside of putting stuff into your deck. It messes up your puller draws. You know what I mean? Like when you play the Fervent Machine Soldier and you don't get an Ancient or an Analyzing, you're just like, all right.
I think there's a world where he could have played the Fervent. He could play the Fervent, play the Radiant, gain back the 1 from Deus Ex, swing it in, and then it draws the artifact. But even then, right? Like Probably should use the radiant artifact if you put them in.
Yeah, just very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, why make that specific play that turn? And I feel like it started to turn around the turn after the Ironforge Fighter. The turn after he played Ironforge Fighter, he just kind of made weird plays that didn't really suit the board very well. Like, the only thing you need to do, and we've seen it already happen, is fill up the board. Don't make plays that don't help you fill up the board.
Yeah, yeah, filling up the board is definitely it. So we got to see Portalcraft lose the sword today, and that's really a big... I mean, that's a big decision that happened there, right? Sprayquaza losing the matchup that he should have won.
Yeah.
Is absolutely storytelling. Like, it changed the story. So Gengar is now into the grand finals.
Yeah, it's just like that. I mean, 1-2 punch Sprayquaza out, Gengar in to face up against Trickster Dawnbreakers versus CPV Counterpoint Virtuosos. Gengar and Trickster, both bridesmaids.
But one of them is going to be the bride.
That's right. Today, one of them is going to be the champion of the last Open.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. And I highly feel like if either of these players wins, they'll be close to the top of the points and won't really have to worry about getting in the regionals finals. But I think both of them being in the finals today is pretty big testament to them actually making it to the top 8 anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what the plan is.
Okay.
We're going to go to a break. Go make your popcorn. Get your potato chips. Don't clap the bag because that'll break all the chips.
Get your vegetables for those of you who like to eat healthy.
He likes to talk about vegetables. It's okay. You can eat unhealthy.
They're good for you.
But we're going to run to the loo, as they say. And when we come back, the grand finals of the last Pan American Open qualifier. Who is going to come in first? We're going to find out.
Sick of not being a millionaire? Playing Shadowverse could get you an all-expenses-paid trip to Japan to compete for a massive $1 million first-place prize in the Shadowverse World Grand Prix. That's right, $1 million. So how do you win $1 million? First, you have to qualify for one of our 3 Contenders Cups. We have one for Southeast Asia and Oceania, one for the Americas, and one for Europe. These cups are where 2018's top players are flown to LA or Singapore to fight for the World Grand Prix invitations. It's gonna be epic. And how do you qualify for our Contenders Cups? First off, mark up your calendars because this year we are introducing the Shadowverse World Circuit. This consists of 3 offline tournaments that anyone can take part in. DreamHack Tours, the SVO Open, and DreamHack Montreal. Anybody from anywhere can compete for the 10K prize pool per tournament. And as an added bonus for local players, winning your home region's tournament will get you flown to the Contenders Cup to fight for a slot in the World Grand Prix. You can also secure a Contenders Cup slot by winning one of our Pan America or European Spring or Summer online tournaments. Some slots for the Contenders Cups will go to players with the most 2018 league points. We've got 4 slots for competitors in Pan America, 4 slots for Europe, and 2 for SVO. Didn't make the cut? No sweat. There's one more chance to qualify via our last chance wildcard tournaments that will take place in each region in September. Win one of those, and boom, you're in. You'll be gatecrashing the Contenders Cup with all the other contenders, where an almighty clash of wills shall decide the final players who get to take part in the World Grand Prix. So this year, we are giving even more people even more chances than ever to win cash, just for playing Shadowverse. Our 2018 Global Esports calendar now covers 120 countries. And if winning money and basking in esports glory all sounds a bit like too much effort, just sit back and relax. We'll be streaming Shadowverse Esports all year round on the official channel so you can watch the best players in the world slug it out week to week. It's never been a better time for competitive Shadowverse. What are you waiting for? Go check out ShadowverseOpen.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut your hands off. Welcome back, everybody, to Week 5. This is, of course, the last open week of qualifiers, and it will lead into, of course, the mid-season special in a couple weeks, and then the regional finals in just a couple weeks as well.
My favorite times.
But it's time to settle down next to Fire for a little story time with EXO. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about DreamHack the entire day, but now I kind of want to talk about the tournament itself. Okay? Okay, all right.
Oh.
Anyway. He's bored with DreamHack. This is why he didn't get to go to DreamHack,
I'm bored
by
with
the way.
EXO.
Rough. Anyway, let's take a look at the bracket from DreamHack so you guys can kind of catch yourself up. So again, this was in Europe, in Tours, France. This is an entire lineup. So it was a top 16. It was single elimination, 3-deck, no ban format. And we can see in the finals was Sheepy and Mensu, but leading up to the finals, we had a ton of different players in here, right? Everyone from Akamara Red, Bottles, Reppy actually showed up, you know, learned she was a very fierce competitor, had to play against her basically best friend in the tournament, Vaporization, in round 1 and lost to him. Very, very not happy about that, but a big smile on her face. Scoobs was there, Captain Dolan was there. A bunch of French competitors like Mensu were in there and ended up getting all the way to the finals and winning. We had Sephi, Adamy's dad, which is like my favorite name. He's actually Abaddon, if you guys remember his name from the SVO. Sky Sama came all the way out along with Bottles. Also, there was a one Japanese player that made it out there, but did not make top 16, so unfortunate. But tons of good players, Shadow Shadette, things like that. All the way going to the finals. One thing about Sheepy that I want to let you guys know that you guys might not know was day 1, he had 2 sets of clothing on, right? And underneath his sweater, he had a pink shirt that said champion on it. And he said, I'm not going to unleash my final form until tomorrow. Wore the same shirt both days. Unleashed the pink champion shirt on day 2. It got him all the way to the finals. But in the finals, it was about as close a match as you could ever have, right? So Sheepy was running the average lineup of Midsword, Portalcraft, and Ginger Runecraft, like 3 of the strongest decks. And Mensu was running Control Forest, Temple Haven, again, which a lot of people were like, how did it make it to the finals? This is probably not going to win, but then eventually it did win. And Midsword. And both players were playing the support cannon variety like we see today. It's kind of taken over now. But it went to a very, very close match where it came down to the Swordcraft mirror in the finals, okay? And both players had the exact same draw, card for card. They both had the exact same turns 4 and 5. Pass turn 4, play support cannon on turn 5. And then Mensu did the unbelievable play of playing a Hedgehog with a Black Queen into the opposing support cannon, which gave him that 1 turn of breathing room, and then eventually he was the only player in that game to draw a Vulse, which then ended up killing the opposing support cannon and taking over the game. It was so close, and at the end of the day, it was so amazing, right? We handed the trophy to Mensu. He was like overly emotional, like with
It's
it.
It's a big win.
It's a huge win. He couldn't even really talk. We were like, you know, how does it feel to win? He's like, I don't even really know what to say, guys. Like, it's too much, and it was awesome. Kaita Mori was there, global head of Psy Games Esports, to hand him the trophy. He was awesome to be there, hand him the big check as well. The energy in the place was freaking electric, you know, after the final match. Everybody in the crowd was standing up next to the casting booth as I was like signing off and giving the winning trophy speech and all that kind of stuff. It was unbelievable time. Everybody enjoyed themselves out there. We had like great audience areas. All of the players were happy with each other, you know what I mean? Like meeting with each other and like discussing decks night in, day out, you know what I mean? It was a crazy time. So DreamHack, if you guys were kind of tepid or trepid or whatever those words are about going to these events, they're fun. I mean, you'll have a blast going to them. You'll meet with a lot of cool players, and it's your chance to win money. It's your chance to win a spot in the Contenders Cup, along with today's tournament, where it's these players' chance to get into the top 8 for the regional finals, so that they can get to the Contenders Cup, so they can win the MVP flares, the weekly champion flares, get into the regional finals to win the grand champion flare, and even more money and things like that. So big tournaments this year all year round. DreamHack was just one of them. The next one's going to be in Singapore, and then of course it goes to Montreal and Canada. Like we said earlier, it's an exciting year for Shadowverse. It's only going to be building, so make sure you guys get involved.
Yeah. Get in there. Play at the live events. And the most interesting thing about it is Menso is now the first player to actually get a spot to the Contenders Cup.
That's right.
So,
he's the one that's guaranteed.
Yep. He's got that win under his belt, a big win at DreamHack.
And he just spiked it, right? French national came in there, hadn't been doing too hot on the SVO, you know what I mean, at all. Spike a tournament. This one was just the tournament to Spike so far.
Yeah, got it. In the bag. Done and done. So, go follow Cygames Esports if you want to see coverage of the DreamHack tournament and pictures from the event and kind of all the things that were happening there. Definitely recommend you guys follow that channel, as there's so many esports efforts that are happening across the year. That's your location to go to follow all of it, especially on the Western and Southeast Asian and Oceanian side.
Absolutely.
So,
plus they do, like I said, round-around breakdowns, you know, little clips of the ending parts of a lot of the matches, things like that. So exciting stuff. So enough about the DreamHack bracket. Let's take a look at today's bracket one last time here, see how the players got here, of course, all the way to the finals. We've got Dawnbreaker's Trickster versus CPV Counterpoint Virtuoso's Gengar. Again, for the last open qualifier. This is for all the marbles. This is how we're going to figure out seeding, and at the end of the day, we're going to know who gets there. But this is what they can earn on the day, 30,000 vials plus that weekly champion flair, of course, over on the right. The league points all the way down to 0 points, but all the way up to 20 points, and of course the emblem for playing in the tournament today.
Fighting for either 20 or 17 points here because it's first or second, and
That's
then the vials as well. And these players are putting it all on the line. We'll see if they can actually make the win happen. And for Gengar, I think he's far secured his spot. For Trickster, not sure, but he will be pretty close, especially if he takes first place.
Absolutely. And let's do a matchup breakdown. So we talked about banning Swordcraft a little bit earlier. It looks like Gengar's like, yeah, let's just get it out of here. This is the finals. I need to win 2 times. Let's get Swordcraft out of here so I don't have to fight against it. So he's got Spell Boost, Runecraft, and Support Cannon Sword against Temple Haven and Ginger Runecraft. Honestly speaking, I've got to say the edge goes to Gengar. The reason I say that is because Temple Haven, a little wishy-washy. All the other decks pretty consistent. And I'm still of the camp of the competitive players where they think that Temple Haven isn't really the best choice, but seems to always get somebody to the finals. And so far that we know, with this whole metagame shift with the Support Cannon Swordcraft, Haven has come up on top. So maybe I'm just wrong, and a lot of the competitive players are wrong. Not the ones who play the Temple Haven deck, though.
Yeah. My gut feeling is that Support Cannon Sword probably has to find a win against Temple, and then you feel pretty comfortable playing Spell Boost as Ginger.
Sure. Well, I think Spell Boost is pretty good against Havencraft in general, except for when they play Aegis.
Yeah.
As soon as the Aegis comes down, then the party's over, and Chimera's just like,
I have nothing to do.
Man.
Yeah, definitely mitigates a lot of Chimera's damage. But I think the way the matchups work out, right, he needs to win with his Ginger Rune deck. I think that can probably beat Swordcraft.
That's its best chance. I don't think that Ginger Rune really beats Spell Boost. I think so. Bottles actually, when we were at DreamHack, told me the reason he is playing Spell Boost Runecraft is because it beats Ginger. And it really has a good matchup against a lot of the decks that he felt like were going to be in the field.
So this is an ideal situation for Gengar. Like you said, I think it is favored for Gengar. It all comes down to, in my opinion, what this Support Cannon Swordcraft deck will do. Is it going to hit into Temple Haven and have that unfortunate scenario where it just loses out to Haven for whatever reason, for however the game plays out, right? I think that is a big difficulty here. And we have Trickster on screen.
Jamming. Look at him. He's ready. He's focused. He's got the game face on. Gengar, of course, looking the exact same as he did last time. In his suit, calm, cool, and ready to go.
All of them are well-dressed. Trickster was always well-dressed. You know, he had casual but formal, right?
He was the one with the tuxedo shirt and everything.
Tuxedo shirt,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Doing it up. Yeah. I like it a lot. Now, in saying that Gengar does have the advantage in this matchup, Trickster has the advantage in the overall seeding, right? Because he only has to win once.
Yes.
So Gengar, while he might have the advantage, he needs to make sure that that advantage presses over 2 different sets of matches.
Needs to make sure his strategy is good. I don't know if he can get much better. I do think banning out Support Cannon Sword was probably the best that he could do in that.
Absolutely. Give your opponent 2 not-so-consistent decks. Ginger Runecraft can be inconsistent. It depends on the curve it gets going up to 9, and it also has to get the turn 9 Ginger into something.
Both his abominations?
You know what? Against Spell Boost Runecraft,
that's probably your best
probably the best chance. Yeah.
Get out early, get enough stats on the board to try to close out the game.
I like it a lot. If you use your first 2 evolution points on 6/6s, I mean, how many answers does Runecraft really have to that
Going
early?
second as well is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
You're banking on the fact that perhaps Gengar won't be able to get a turn 4 spell boosted drop, and then your 6/6 will just take over the game.
That's right. Now, the curve leading up To it, unfortunate that Witch of Sweets does not draw the card here, but I don't think Trickster's looking to draw too many cards. He's just looking to get the damage in from the Abominations.
Here it comes. This is kind of, in my head, the deciding point of the game, right? These early turns.
This is the card, too. Now, there is one Fiery Embrace in Gengar's hand. He did draw it a little later. The Nova Flares are decent. He might use one of them here, just because it does clear off the Witch of Sweets.
Starts the damage. But this is already dangerous, right? A second Abomination Awaken, and then Hector starts coming online.
Yep.
Yep.
Here we go. This is almost a guaranteed 12 early damage, if not more.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. You definitely can remove the 6/4 here.
Yes.
And that can be off the spell boost that the Owl provides, and I would assume that's the best way to go.
It has to be, right? And then it also makes Fiery Embrace get a lot cheaper.
Yep.
You can follow it up with a Golem Assault, and then you can ward yourself up and Fiery Embrace down the Abomination next turn. I like it.
Combination of wards plus spell boosting the Fiery Embrace, I think, was key. You didn't have things like Chimeras, and even if they did, Chimeras are somewhat inefficient at dealing with
the issue is if this Abomination hits you, and a neutral card doesn't even need to be drawn next turn,
just
but the turn after, that's it. It's just Hector.
Oh boy.
This is what I was talking about. Turn 6. Turn 6, it is possible to win with this deck, and we might see it this game. Wow.
Wow, he got Doom.
That voice. I hear the world's voice.
Oh no.
Okay, so he still counted. The spell boost is still probably good enough to kill the Abomination here, but the game's already over.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
There's no healing, I don't think.
Nope.
It won't be long.
Yeah.
Remember the thing that I've been asking for about a year now? It still
No,
hasn't
what is
happened.
that? What would that be?
Life gain for spell boost Runecraft, okay?
Oh no. Oh no. Trickster just wow. Look at him. He's not even he's like, what is this?
Yep.
Come on.
Easy peasy.
Going beyond dimensions.
Oh wow. He's literally wow. Okay. Trickster's in there. This is his tournament to win.
Yep. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better draw, right? The double Hector, double Abomination.
Yeah.
You literally only
Insane.
needed a 2-drop
He
on
kept it
top
on the
of that.
mulligan. He said, I know exactly how this game is going to play out. He's got a third Hector, too, just in case.
So it's not just Sheepy that knows this role.
Woo! You got the
Yeah.
stuff.
Gengar is not happy about that one.
Trickster's right along the same lines. He's like, I know how to play this deck. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in the winners finals.
I like it. The
Or, I'm
choice.
sorry, the finals.
The choice to bring Spell Boost Rune is fantastic, and this is probably the lesson to learn, right? From DreamHack, if the people who were really paying attention, right, felt
Absolutely.
like Spell Boost Rune. I think this is it's obviously giving Trickster the win here.
I think reorganizing my thoughts about what you want to bring if you want to beat the format right now. I think you bring Spell Boost Runecraft, you bring Portalcraft, and then your third deck is really up to you. I would probably lean towards Support Cannon Sword.
Yeah.
But you can really go with any deck there, but the main two, Portalcraft, Spell Boost, Runecraft, I feel like are the two strongest decks right now. Because they beat more of the format than the other decks do.
Let's see how Havencraft does against yeah.
Look at this draw. Trickster, my man, with the draws in the finals here. Has literally the best possible draw that the deck can have.
Or sorry, we were miscalling it, not Spell Boost Ginger. Abomination Awakened Ginger.
Yeah, Abomination Ginger.
Apologies.
So this is the exact draw Mensu had against Onion Sheep in the finals with his Havencraft deck that got him the win with Havencraft. Look at the smile on Trickster's face. He knows what's up.
Yeah. You're guaranteed to get that evolution proc off on the Gemstone Carapace.
He's got the hello hi there's. He's feeling good.
Yeah.
Now, not saying that the best opener necessarily leads to the best finish, but that's another great card to have in this matchup. Taurus.
Really, really close. And the unfortunate thing is I don't know if there's a good way for Runecraft to actually even deal with the Snow White with spells, right? Because it just keeps coming back.
It's tough. It's tough. And Kaleidoscopic Glow does not exist in rotation anymore, so amulets are free to roam around.
Yeah. I mean, you can almost just, whatever it is, just run them over.
Yeah, you can't really deal with Snow White on the draw unless you have insight into Wind Blast and you just want to pop it. But now if you want to destroy the Snow White, you have to let the Gemstone pop earlier.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to ignore it.
Yep.
I think that's what Gengar's doing.
And kind of the fate is in your hands. Wow, Marcher's tea time. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yep.
All right, so
it's all good.
So this is the draw. You can't do better than this.
Is it just over?
I don't know, man, but these draws have been absolutely insane. We say it's highly volatile, Havencraft, but sometimes it get draws like this where you're just like, okay.
Yeah, this is hitting the draws in stride now.
Now again, this doesn't necessarily mean auto victory. It just means I don't think Havencraft can draw any better than this.
Yeah, it's true. Yep. Slow down the evolves. I totally get it. How do you think the turn should play out here?
Well, he's got to open up space for Marchair's tea time, which he's doing with this Snow White here.
Yep. You can throw the Snow White into the board.
And then he can play his Marchair's tea time, go face for 3.
And then have his Snow White swing in for another 1 point of damage.
He's already got the Taurus in hand for the turn 8 bust. And technically speaking, if 2 followers hit the bin again, he can play another Tin Soldier out, and then he has a Serenian Hind to pop those lower.
Yeah.
He's got really nice options going up the curve.
Probably the perfect follower to have against Spell Boost Rune as well because of the 5 defense.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, and again, Taurus to finish things off. Now, again, Heavenly Knights can be top decked at any time here.
Yeah.
I mean, a Summit Temple off the top could be devastating.
Yeah. Trickster was definitely watching the competition closely, right? Kicking off the bat with Abomination Awaken focused strategy on Ginger Rune, especially against Spell Boost. And then now playing Havencraft because he's just, I guess, seen and learned. He just said, hey, Havencraft is a good deck, and I know that it can hit me these options. Yep. And it might be paying off in a big way. I mean, what can you do to handle this board?
Cry. Do the rainy.
Do the rainy.
Do the rainy.
Yeah, make it rain from your face.
That's right. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, he can deal with...
he can Fiery Embrace.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's about...
Oh, God.
What?
Leaves the 5 damage up.
Yeah, why would he leave the 5 damage up?
He doesn't want the defense, I suppose.
That's crazy to me. He takes away the the maybe 5 damage for the guaranteed 5 damage. I guess it is easier to deal with.
Down to 5 now. He literally needs to just clear the whole board here or he loses. Wow, Trickster knows. Oh my God, Trickster is so confident.
Not sure why the evolution wasn't used on the Tin Soldier.
Yeah, I kind of was leaning towards
because that's guaranteed Taurus win on 8.
Yep.
This is leaving it open to possibly not happening.
We'll see. He has a Fiery Embrace. Is that a Chimera at 0? So he has choices here.
That one play.
Yeah, because now he can't get the 3 damage.
But you can't clear out the Snow White fully. Okay. You do get to gain 1 defense. And then technically speaking, you get to gain 1 more off of an evolution next turn.
Oh man, another gemstone. I don't know if that's particularly relevant right now. I guess
you
can
definitely
play it
is with the Hind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Fill up the board.
Oh my God, this is just the worst.
I guess this was the play anyway. He had the evolution saved up for the 3 damage to face anyway. Because of the Hind.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if there's anything you can do about this board state now.
I mean, it's not even about the board anymore. It's about the Taurus too. I mean, Trickster just blowing up with his draws.
He came with the lists.
He came with the lists. He knew how to mulligan perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, Havencraft, sometimes you just got to get the lucky draw, and he did.
Yeah.
And this is a quick finals.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy to me that it played out in this way.
Just unbelievable.
Would it have been any different if Gengar led with Swordcraft?
100% would have been different.
I think so,
he wouldn't
too.
have gotten blown out immediately. That same Abomination draw doesn't do as much against Sword at all.
Yeah, I think so as well. And that's why I was kind of focusing on Swordcraft into Haven, right? Like, no matter what happens, you kind of want to play Swordcraft first, I think.
Let's see, is there any way to clear out this entire board? Actually, there is, except for the Snow White. The Snow White's going to live. That Snow White that got played on, like, the earliest of turns.
Oh, man.
Stuck around all game to be the final nail in the coffin.
Wow. Snow White doing its best Shadowcraft impression right now.
Yep.
And you're done. Easy.
Ooh,
Trickster, wow.
This is the end for you, my friend.
Does Trickster have a ceremony for us?
So sorry.
He is full throttle on the emotes.
Gengar raises his head in disgust.
Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to cope.
Wow, and Trickster is going to finish out strong here.
That was a stop.
That was a stop.
That was a stop. Put on your fat sumo suit and just roll all over your opponent, because that's what Trickster did.
That's absolutely correct. That's right. Put on the fat sumo suit and just plop right on your opponent. Do the panda plop.
Oh my God. Trickster just ran away with it.
Yeah, there's not even much to say there. He picked the right decks in the right order, mulliganed correctly, played perfectly.
Yeah. We were talking so much about Spell Boost Rune into Ginger, but obviously Trickster had understood kind of how important Abomination Awaken is in that matchup and just said, hey, over these turns, this is how I'm going to secure the win early on. And he did it.
That was
it. Did it exactly.
That
Perfect
was it.
execution.
So what that means, guys, and I think we have our little math wizards in the back right now doing the point stuff.
Yeah.
But we're going to figure out pretty soon here what the top 8 competitors are for the regionals finals, and we also get to see the top points earner, which could potentially be Trickster. We'll see. I don't know how many points he has, but who will get the MVP flare as well. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to see who we're going to get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Trickster from Dawnbreakers takes the first place finish right at the last qualifier here. And if he makes it into the regional finals, he could definitely make another run for second place or even first.
Absolutely, especially with like this. So today showed me that Trickster not only has the confidence to win, he has the understanding of metagames even as they shift over the course of a week down pat.
Yeah.
Like added the Taurus to his deck so he could have a little bit more tempo. You know what I mean? Played Spell Boost Runecraft in such a way that he just knows what's going on.
Rather Ginger Rune.
Right.
Played against Spell Boost Rune.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, the Ginger Rune. Yeah, that's right. We got flipped and then I never flipped back.
Yeah.
But just like knowing exactly what he needs to do, bringing the right decks, and you know what, Havencraft, it's off my dirt list. It's good. It's one of the best decks still.
Yeah.
There's no reason to claim otherwise, especially if you know what you're doing with it, and even the correct tech choices.
Yeah. Definitely have to get the good early draws. You have to make sure that you set up your early curve very well. But then it just gets into this snowball of just like good turn after good turn.
You can't refute results in elimination brackets like this and single elimination brackets like we're in DreamHack.
On the winner's side too.
On the winner's side, yeah. I mean, it won the last week's event. It won this week's event. It's pretty good, guys. I know a lot of you out there are like, Havencraft, I know how to beat it. It's kind of been solved and figured out. Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
You have to continually beat it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because it's already taken 2 players to first place finish.
That's right. And not getting banned out and proving that maybe at some points it deserves a ban depending on your lineup.
Wow. What an end to the Open qualifiers.
Yeah, crazy cool.
I can't. Yeah, it took us, we've kind of departed from rotation for a while because we went into Take 2 and a little than you were at DreamHack, but then we just came back to rotation. It's like a different game.
It's not only a different game, but everybody followed it very well, I feel like. I feel like maybe Fantasy was on the slower end of it. Like, he went more of the counter support cannon strategy than actually going into the support cannon strategy himself. And I feel like that's a good way to do it because we saw everybody had the Swordcraft deck, right? And he wanted to play against it and have all of his decks tuned to beat it. But having one tech card in your decks against players who now upped it to 2 support cannons isn't really the most effective strategy. And honestly speaking, support cannons there not just as a counter to the mirror, it's just good in general now. So like
it's
not playing one of the most powerful cards, it might just be a hindrance.
Yeah. I feel like support cannon especially played off of the back of the idea that on turn 4 and turn 5 there's usually dead turns, and then playing against decks that are like Spell Boost that may have these early big swings, or kind of Havencraft, right, that has also this turn 4, turn 5 swing, maybe specifically designed to push that.
I've played very, very few games where I felt confident in Swordcraft followers being big enough to destroy bigger followers earlier in the game. And to contextualize that, it's the same reason why we saw, the really awkward plays that we saw earlier where Swordcraft just couldn't muster more than 4 damage. Like, why did he play the Lancer of the Tempest on turn 3? Because if he didn't have a removal option for the evolution next turn. So it's just like, the Swordcraft followers don't have the Albert that gets up to like 5 power as easily and then can live through an Evo against an opposing force. All their followers are so tiny.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, Frontline Cavalier is a 3/4 that evolves, right? Does
Into
it do
a 4 or
+1/+1?
Yeah, just +1/+1.
Yeah. So it's just.
I mean, Luminous Mage, great card, 4/5.
Yeah.
Mars, 4/5. Hedgehog, smaller. Celia, 4/6. That 4 number. But Anyway, let's take a look at the
Jetto.
bracket one more time.
Where
Check
is he?
it out. Look
Trickster
at
with the 2-0.
Look
Yeah.
at these victories. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And then all the 2-1s a little bit on the left-hand side, except for Trickster against... Oh, Trickster beat Gengar twice 2-0.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a fantastic list that he brought today with good decision-making to kind of pilot him to that situation where he could take the win here. And Trickster on the winner's side easily takes the last open bracket for Pan America. And now...
Are you ready?
Let's figure out who is the top of Pan America. There is the Dawnbreak Nightedge season, and Omega will maintain with 52 points, and Gengar just barely making the cut at 46. He could have been the first place finisher, but he is in the tournament. And like we mentioned at the start of the day, Gengar and Fantasy probably going to make it. They're number 2 and number 3 on the points list. Then going down, we've got LOJ, and Trickster squeezes himself in
Trickster's in there. Jenga Jam.
So close.
Almost there.
So close. He is 2 points away. In fact, he is actually 1 point away, but because of tie-breaking, lost out to Raindrop.
Lost out, so did Crazy Blue, and I imagine there might even be some more 30-pointers down there. But Jenga Jam made a good appearance. If he would have gotten one place higher today, one place, he would have been in it. That's how close it was. It's how volatile this last day was. Unbelievable stuff.
Look at this insanity, right? Sky Sama ended up being second, just under Crumsion on the 2018 total standings. And then Trickster, with this big tournament, has launched himself forward and now is in second place himself. And Sky Sama is almost out of the top 4.
Right, and Fantasy popped up there as well. Yeah, Sky Sama was number 1, now number 4. You have to be consistent throughout the entire season if you want to stay there. Not season, year.
Big things to note here, right? And I'm gonna talk about Fantasy a little bit here because we never see him win a tournament. But what you have to be careful of is Fantasy has slowly been improving his standing on the leaderboard. He's not really dropped down significantly. He may have like dropped a little bit, but then he bounces back up a little higher, drops, and then bounces back up a little higher. By the end of the year, if that trend continues, he's just going to be going to the Contenders Cup.
He's just going to be there. And one thing that we didn't point out, okay, because we were talking about the players in the tournament today, Disastrous Omega, MVP of Dawnbreak Nightedge. Congratulations, sir. You earned it for being the most
throughout the entire season.
That's right. You
high placing finishes.
Consistent placer this entire season. Congrats, Disastro. While not being in attendance today, still took home the MVP title.
Yes.
So Disastro's around.
Yeah, and we were talking about it all season long, both for Pan America and Europe. It just always seems like there's Disaster members in the finals, and Omega was the big one, right? He's just there, taking high place finishes enough times to get him that spot in the top placing.
That's right. So if you guys didn't hear today, Shadowverseopen.com. All right, that's the place to go. All right, if you guys didn't hear it,
Shadowverse
Open.com.
That's
where you go. That's where you find out all the cool tidbits. You guys can keep track of the points. If you guys forget who's going to be in the finals, if you guys want to amp up as the weeks continue, that's where to go to check back in. If you want to check out new articles, written about the players, about the game itself, all that kind of stuff, that's the place to go. Also links to sign up for the tournaments for next season as well.
Tournament times, broadcast times, schedules, who's leading in terms of leaderboards, and all that information there. And if you go there, you'll also learn that we have another broadcast coming up just tomorrow, and that's going to be the European side of things, the last qualifier for Europe. And a super important day for a lot of the European players because the points are a little bit of a toss-up, as well as the fact that Zero Fine, who had been doing so well, is maybe not as present now in the latter half of this season. So
he's still going to qualify, but he might lose out an MVP spot if he doesn't perform again. I don't know. I think the points are pretty lopsided in his favor so far.
He had quite a great lead, but the question is, who is hot coming into the regional finals, right? And
That's
so
true.
We'll see if he makes a statement there, or is it somebody like Akamara Red who's going to come back? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. We've also got the story of Sheepy and Himari being the last season's winner, and they might all be making a run for that final first place finish.
Absolutely. So,
lots to look forward to. Lots to think about in terms of Shadowverse competitive, and we had a very fun time with the open qualifiers for Pan America. Tomorrow's going to be Europe. Make sure you tune in. Exodium and I will be bringing you through the final moments of the European qualifiers, and we will find out who the MVP of that region is. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. PST to catch all the action. We'll see you guys then.
woo woo.